right, welcome to another episode of the Shifter Show. We've got Matt on here today. What levers are you running on your bike?
One finger.
Are you?
I am, yeah.
All right, well here
Do you want to start
at the
that?
Shifter Show, we run Elite Moto Tech, the best levers in the game. Use code SHIFTERCREW at checkout, 30% easier pull. Also brought to you by Law Tigers. We got the big sign up. If you or somebody you know has been hurt or injured in a motorcycle accident, call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS.
That's pretty good.
So I heard you and Dustin talked mostly about sobriety.
Yes, we did. We did.
This isn't NA beer. I'm just fucking with you.
You know, it really doesn't bother me at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a pre-rehearsed joke. I feel like people are going to bust my balls.
Big old cup of coffee. It's my 4th cup today, so
Yeah.
I'm chilling.
Holding it down.
Yeah.
So a little kind of like backstory on you. We've got these mics cranked up all the way. I think Bulletproof Welder was in here messing with my stuff the last time he was here. So hopefully the sound comes out. We'll find out, but I'm not going to change it now. Dude, you've had, obviously you go by Slicc on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Matt, I don't know your last name. I don't know if you want people to know it.
Crumpetich.
Yeah. Okay. You do all kinds of stuff though. Like you're a badass stunt rider. I've seen you in shows. You do marketing for different companies. You've taught me a shit ton just in the last week from coming over to the house and having dinner and shit. Like, where did all this start? You're from Florida. Like, dude, you're a wide open canvas to talk about.
I mean, I'm actually not even from Florida originally. Originally, I'm actually from Utah. I moved from Utah to Colorado when I was like 24, I think. I'm 31 now. I spent 5 years, almost 6 years in Denver. And then from Denver, I moved to Florida. And then Florida was kind of a short stint. And now I'm kind of just back on the whole living on the road thing. And yeah, I don't know. I have some kind of severe type of ADHD or autism. I don't know what you want to call it when it comes to motorcycles and just two wheels in general. I've always been that way. And I'm just super, super passionate about it all. So I want to learn, every part of it as much as I possibly can. And that's just kind of my whole life's goal, really.
Did you grow up like the typical like dirt bikes? Was that your kind of start?
I mean, so I started riding BMX. Like, it's funny. I actually wanted to be into skateboarding so bad, but I am actually so, what's the word? Like, I'm not athletic at all.
Coordinated?
I'm not coordinated at all. So I tried skateboarding when I was really young and it just wouldn't work. And, so I got into BMX instead. And then, my dad has always been kind of remodeling homes ever since I can remember. And, we had this house in Utah, and for like a whole 6 months, we didn't have a kitchen because it was all torn apart. My dad was remodeling the whole house. Mm-hmm. And so we went to this Village Inn like every single night for dinner, basically, while our kitchen was totally torn apart. And the waitress that we became to know really well, her son raced BMX. And so she told my dad, like, hey, you should take your son down to the track and let him check it out. And I think by this time I was probably, 6 or 7. And I remember the first time I saw the BMX track. It was a really big track in Utah called Rad Canyon, which is like, it's a super epic track to see for your first track. And I was just blown away. And then it was pretty much just downhill from there. I mean, my parents were divorced ever since I can remember. My mom would take me racing whenever my dad was working. My dad worked a ton. He's an oil field guy. And so my mom would take me to the racetrack, and she actually met her husband of like 20 years there because his daughter raced BMX. And so when they got together, I was kind of fortunate enough to, I guess, grab onto their coattails, and they would take me traveling. And I, was like a national champion by the age of like 11.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And then, I got out of the whole racing thing and kind of just got into skate parks and all of that stuff. Like went to Woodward and was like flipping and stuff when I was like 13 years old.
Like
the camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen them. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, yeah, so BMX was a huge part of my life. Motocross was as well. Yeah, I think my dad bought me my first bike when I was, I don't know, 10 years old. It was a KX85 on Christmas, actually. It was hilarious. Like,
Like you couldn't ride it. You're in Utah.
Yeah, like another super just, I don't know, funny moment. But so for Christmas, they had given me like riding gear and then this DVD that was like super corny and cheesy. And it was like basically the responsibility required in owning a motorcycle or a four-wheeler, you know? But I didn't get a bike, right? Like they didn't give me the bike with it. They gave me all this stuff and I was so bummed just being like a spoiled brat, right? I'm like, well, there's no bike here.
You're like, this is the biggest blue balls I've ever experienced in my life. Like,
and so then I had this room in the basement and it was pretty big, and somehow my dad snuck this bike down the stairs and put it in my bedroom. So when I like went to go to bed that night, I walked into my room and there was a KX85, like brand new, just sitting there, and it was just like glowing. And then, and it's like, there's just so many, I mean, memories like that. And, you know, my dad would, he actually got a dirt bike at the same time. And so we would go out into the hills together and, you know, putt around, and that eventually turned into going racing, and kind of just, you know, two wheels and all sorts has just been a huge part of my life. Like my dad always wanted me to be a basketball player. I'm tall, you know, and
yeah, were you like 6'3", 6'4"?
6'3", yeah. And so he made me play from such a young age, like all the way until high school. And it was kind of like, hey, if you play basketball, I'll take you racing type of thing. So
did it just lead to you hating basketball though?
Yeah, no. Okay. I mean, it just was so repetitive, right? Like, and we had some coaches that were really good, and I did enjoy it for quite a while. I think now I'm super glad that I was a part of it for sure, but
got some coordination going.
Yeah. Like if it wasn't for basketball, there probably would be absolutely no coordination. But yeah, I mean, it's just been there's been so many different parts to it, you know. BMX was always like more of my passion, I would say, just because I could tell that motocross was a strain on my family. Like it was, my dad always was working anyways, but it just came to a point where I could notice that he was working so much. And then like coming home, I was getting a trailer ready and getting bikes ready and working on my own bikes and stuff. And, just to load up and go racing. And it just was a lot, and it's expensive. And it's kind of one of those things where I was so much better at BMX because I could just do it on my own time. And I didn't need any other resources in order to do that. And motocross was like, I couldn't just go riding by myself because it's so much more dangerous. But tons of like, it was where I lived. My friends and I were able to like, you know, at school we would say, hey, let's meet up in the Painted Hills or Docks Beach or these other places that we had named, you know, and we could just literally get on our bikes as soon as we were off the bus and ride down the highway, super small town stuff. And we would just meet up in the hills. So it was kind of like, I think that was the first thing that gave me the freedom of motorcycles for sure. And yeah, it's super cool. I'm still friends with those kids today. And
oh, no shit.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. I think bikes and motocross and all that stuff just really teach you about hard work and so many other things. So
yeah, it makes sense. So you've been basically at it since you were 10 then.
Yeah, like I'm not good at anything naturally. Like I am not. And for how long I've been doing it, I should be a lot better, you know, but it has just been such a long part. It's been my whole life really. I haven't done really anything else. I've had little side tracks where I'm like into snowboarding for a couple years, you know, whatever, but I always fall back to like two wheels of some kind.
Yeah.
So,
dude, I feel like a lot of guys, that's kind of the natural progression or transition is like guys start BMX, motocross, buy a Sportster, buy a Dyna. You know what I mean? Like that's it. I wasn't really like that. Like I grew up, my dad's from Brooklyn. So I grew up doing like city people shit. You know what I mean? Like I grew up playing basketball and baseball and football. Like that was what I did. And I didn't get into bikes until I was like 25. And I was just needed something else to do, you know? And I was like, all right, cool. I'll buy this Sportster. the most typical like first Harley ever. But I feel like guys that grew up riding BMX or motocross or whatever, it's like you can never make up that ground on them. Like they're so comfortable on the bike.
Yeah.
They just have like an advantage because they learn this skill. It's like they say, like kids can learn a new language when they're younger because their brains are just like, that's how I feel about guys that grew up riding. Like you're just never going to catch them because they learned these skills at such a young age. Now it's just natural, you know, where I've been doing it for 8 years ish. Like, I'm never going to catch a guy like you. You know what I mean? Like,
well, it's funny that you say that because like when people ask me like, what do you think about me getting into riding motorcycles? And they've never had any experience or anything at all.
Don't do it.
The first thing that I tell them is like I learned at a very young age on a dirt bike, you know, if you're on a trail or you're ripping, you're hauling ass and there's a tree down, like my brain doesn't have to think about like pull the clutch in, grab the brakes, do that. Like that's something that's just second nature. Like I don't have my body will just physically do that for me.
Right.
Where people that don't have that experience, like they'll have to think, okay, little bit of clutch, a little bit of gas, little bit of clutch, a little bit of gas. Okay, I need to pull the brakes or pull the clutch in, little bit of front brake, little bit of back brake. Like I don't have to have that, and I feel like that is something that
it's just like a natural reaction.
It's just muscle memory. You know?
And I mean you can get that over the years, but if you've got 20 years of that as opposed to 10 years of that,
yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like the process is just kind of be that much simpler.
And you can tell, like, you know, I was riding up to Josie's last weekend with Joey 55, and Joey, you can tell,
fantastic rider.
Yeah, he's ridden motocross like way more serious than I ever did for sure, and you can tell because of just like there's just certain things that I see him do when he's just normally riding that you can just tell by someone's posture and the way their body language is when they ride, just how even much more comfortable they are. You know.
No, it makes sense. And that dude's, it's funny, and I've said this before, like, I don't think of Joey as, like, a stunt rider's think of him as a homie. You know what I mean? Because I didn't really meet him under that, hey, I'm a stunt rider. Like, I met him as, like, a super fucking cool dude that works for Senders. You know what I mean? So, and then I kind of forget, and then I see him, and I'm like, God, that motherfucker's bad, dude.
Yeah,
like,
so
fuck,
bad.
Dude.
I mean, my first Harley actually was my best friend, Robbie. He always rode bikes. And to this day, he's mad at me right now because I was a shitbag friend and I'm trying to get back to a good point in our relationship together. But he rode Harleys from the age of like 14. His dad let him have a bike and he was going on these big rides with guys, and he is so talented. Like he never really got an opportunity to get into stunt riding fully. He had his foot crushed by a big like earth moving equipment tire. Okay. But he had so much bike control. But anyways, he's the guy that got me into bikes. I bought one of his bikes from him, and it was a 100-year anniversary Softail. And I was super into like fishtails, ape hangers, like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And Robbie and I rode to a dealership back in the day for a bike night. And that bike night was when the Dixon Flannel guys were doing their little, no, I shouldn't say little, I don't mean it like that, but their tour. And it was like Joey 55, I think it was Foley, like Holden versus the World.
Yeah.
Who else? I think maybe Dom 829 and Tallboy T.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? I was so mind blown, you know. And
where was this at?
That was in Salt Lake.
Okay.
Yeah. And then from there, like Robbie and I were just like, because Robbie also grew up riding BMX and he had way more bike control, probably still to this day more bike control than I do. And we were just like, we have to figure out a way to do this somehow. Like, and I was just so mesmerized by it. And that's why, like today, I always get so stoked whenever I have an opportunity to ride with any of those guys, because it's like just so full circle. And I tell anyone that's like wanting to get into it, like anyone can do this thing. It's just like, how much time do you want to spend doing it? anyone can physically learn it, especially if I can, because I'm not good at anything naturally.
Right.
It's just a lot of time. But I still see there's just so many things that I notice, like that Joey does, Tallboy, all those guys, Dom, a lot of those guys, they're just so one with a bike. You can never even, just can't teach that. It's crazy.
It's just this natural flow that's happening. And you're kind of like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can power relay that Pan Am. That's about it. Like, even watching you, there's that video going around of you on the Pan Am, and I knew it would happen. I knew somebody would mistake you for me, and I was super stoked. And I should have been like, "Yeah, dude, bad motherfucker." And I was like, "Yes, that's not me."
You should have ran it. I would have ran it.
It was one of my homies though, like one of my good buddies. He was like, "Bro, I didn't know you could do that." I was like, "Well." I can't. But even watching you the other day, I was like, holy shit, like ride that bike every day. And I'm like, he's just throwing that thing around. I can't do that. You know?
Yeah. What a fun bike. I mean, to be honest, it's I don't know. Yeah, I've been thinking about it nonstop. Even just on the way here, actually, I saw probably 4 or 5 Pan Ams, and I probably see Pan Ams all the time. I would just never really pay attention to them.
Because you're thinking about it, you're like, there's one. Yeah.
Yeah. What a cool bike. I mean,
yeah.
I feel like, especially for someone like me, you know, that is very like off-road oriented and minded, like it's really the perfect bike. Do I have the time in my life right now to like say I'm going to go to Baja or something on one of these adventure bikes for a couple weeks? I don't really know, but if I could get to that point in my life, I would absolutely love to do it.
Yeah. I guess I didn't really realize why I was so into it. I didn't like them until like 6 months ago. I saw one at Biggs that was all just murdered out black. Everything on it was black. And I was like, I was in there with Shannon and the kids, and I was like, fuck. Like looking at her, and then like look back at the bike. Fuck, dude. Like, you know, that like feeling you get. I'm just like, oh, that's like an itch right there. And I ended up getting one for a couple weeks from National City, which was fucking rad, and just kind of got to make some videos of it and kind of show it off and show what the bike can do. And I knew it was a problem like right away. I was like, this is not good. You know, like this is not good. Ended up buying one, and I was talking to Jace about it and kind of explaining to him, like, I want to do this, I want to do that. Like at the time, I felt like I had done everything there was to do on the bagger. Like I had gotten as good at riding that bike as I was going to get without putting major money into it and doing all this other shit. And a lot of times, like when you're looking at building a bagger, you can buy another fucking motorcycle for the cost of what you're going to do to this bagger to change it,
absolutely.
you know? At least that's where I'm at with it. Yeah. And so I was just kind of like, yeah, I think I want to do something, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, bro, you're just looking for a new challenge. He was like, that's what this has become. This is a new challenge for you. And you got to do it. Like it's going to be in your head if you don't do it. And I was like, you're 100%. I went and bought the fucking bike. Yeah. But I don't know. There's a lot of like, I was telling somebody today, like on the road, I've pretty much got that thing figured out, like racing with the boys. Like it's easy to figure that thing out. Like a couple months in, it's golden. So now my challenge is dirt. Like now, and I'm so bad at riding in dirt, dude. Like, but I want to take it off-road camping and like all this kind of shit that I watch. I mean, I stay up late, watch YouTube videos on this kind of stuff. Like, what are you guys doing? What are they bringing? What are they packing? I think it's like the half military, half biker side of me that is kind of competing with itself. And I'm like, I like sleeping outside. You know what I mean? Like, I love it. It would be fucking rad to do. So that's the next step of it. I just need to warm up a little bit because I'm not going to sleep outside if it's 40.
Well, I could see how, I mean, it makes total sense, like how that would be perfect for someone like you, for sure. I mean, that's the ultimate type of adventure, you know.
100%.
You have that in your blood, obviously.
Yeah.
And no, yeah, that's awesome. And I would just say the only thing is just baby steps, man. Like I remember the first thing my dad ever told me when I got a dirt bike and was in the hills, he was like, don't ever ride over your head. Like if you don't feel like you can do something, it's because you can't.
Yeah.
It's intuition is so much better than people think it is, and they just always fight that. And some people are just wild, and they're willing to risk that.
Willing to push it, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think that a hill doesn't look that gnarly, most likely it's not.
Right.
You know.
But is there a line with that though, where you have to push yourself?
You know what? Like, I don't really necessarily feel like I ever have. Like,
Really?
I've always, maybe there's been a couple of times where I haven't been certain I could do something, but I've been like half certain.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, because I've just been, again, doing this for so long, that I've just been constantly just baby stepping towards whatever it is that I'm working towards, you know?
Right.
There's probably... I would imagine, like, in my drinking days, yeah, maybe I did some things that I had no business doing, and my
I've been there.
and my intuition was like, you got it, you know. Yeah. But that's like liquid courage, you know, and so yeah. For the most part, though, I don't necessarily think I've ever gone too far over my head, and it's weird. Like, I have these crazy dreams, like, where I remember when I was trying to learn how to wheelie Harleys, like, I could not figure it out to save the life of me. It took me a year and a half before I could even get the thing up. And it was so frustrating. And, the only people that around me that were riding wheelies on anything were sport bike guys at the time, because it was so small then. And I was just so frustrated that I was pretty much like ready to get a sport bike, because I did not ever think the Harley was ever going to work out for me.
Yeah.
And I had a dream, and in that dream I could vividly remember like the exhaust crackle when you're like letting off the gas and coasting, and like what that sounds like, and using the brake and all that stuff. And like I went to ride again, and it all worked. And it like just clicked. And so ever since then, I've kind of just been like, I think your brain works on things for you when you don't even know that you're working on things.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like a physical thing. So anything physical that I'm trying to figure out, you know, like even when I flipped, when I rode dirt bikes like freestyle for a little bit last year, and I just was having dreams about flipping over and over again. And I was like, well, if I'm dreaming about it, that means I can do it. Like I'm in.
This is gonna happen.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Yeah. Super funny though. But definitely just don't ride over your head, and you'll be good. And it's about fun too. Like, I think sometimes people they expect to be good at things, and there is no good. Like, you just try new things, and it should be fun.
Yeah. There's been a couple times, like you said, that this should be fun. There's been a couple times throughout the history of Shifter Crew where Dan, my business partner, has been like, hey man, real quick, this is about riding fucking motorcycles. Yeah. Like, let's not go too ahead of ourselves here. This is about riding fucking motorcycles. Yeah. So you have to, I've said that multiple times. Like, as soon as I stop loving this shit, I'm going to be fucking over it. Like, I'll be done. But like 2.5, we're almost 3 years in. I'm having a blast. And you've got your own company as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know that, Drifters Co., right?
Yep.
I don't know that much about it.
So
I know you guys backflip fucking Harleys.
No.
Okay.
No.
See, I don't know.
We ride like, it was we did everything from like freestyle motocross, and then kind of combined Harleys with that.
Okay.
And we did a tour, and it was like me and a bunch of my friends, and it's kind of, I don't know, everyone's kind of going in different ways, right? You know, it happens, and it's still, I don't really know what it's going to be. It's going to be something. I think the whole goal with it, for me anyways, was I wanted it to eventually become like a media outlet for just all the things going on in motorcycles right now. Not just stunt riding Harleys, but like racing and all the things happening in racing, and guys that are building choppers. I'm kind of like, half of my passion for what I do is honestly the bikes.
Yeah.
I was a fabricator by trade. Like, ever since I could remember, I was walking around with a Dan's Comp bicycle magazine that I had all these parts circled, and like I knew everything about every kind of brand and part BMX wise. And so for me, like, Drifters is something that I hope to eventually turn into like my brain and how I look at bikes, and because to me that's everything, chopper guys and what they're doing to build custom bikes, and you know, routing exhaust through frames and stuff like that. Like there's just, I am in love with all of it. I'm not just strictly a stunt bike guy. That's just the route that I chose for some reason.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the part that people see. And I was like, in the beginning, I was like, dude, you are like this wide open canvas of doing shit. And I don't even know where to start. Like, I don't think you're a stunt guy. Like you are, but you're not just that. You also do marketing. You also like, there's a lot. And I've realized that in the last like couple weeks since you've gotten out here and like you came over for dinner, I was like, oh, there's a lot more than like wheelies going on in this dude's brain.
Well,
like,
I mean, there's a couple different points to that. Like, again, it just go like, when the marketing the side of that has always kind of been a thing for me. From just BMX days, like I mentioned, Dance Comp magazines. Like I literally, so randomly we were in Wyoming at my grandma and grandpa's house, and my dad was like, "Hey, I know the neighbor kids ride BMX. You should go see what they're doing." And I was way younger than them, and I knocked on the door, and these kids answer the door, and they're building a complete bike from the frame up. They had all the individual parts ordered, all from Dance Comp, which was like back in the day, like a mail order, like BMX thing where you could send money in an envelope to a company and then they would send you products back. So I was obsessed with that from day one forever. And then I go to these kids' house and I get to see all these parts lined up and they're all glowing. And I just was like so infatuated by that. Just, I don't know what it was, but for me, that experience that I got from that's now when I do marketing for companies, I want to create that kind of same experience for other people. Like, how can we make a website that's like special, and how can we make buying parts cool and build series and all these things? I want to make that like how it was for me.
yeah.
And I think just throughout the years, I just paid attention to so many things in magazines and how they did flyers and magazine covers and ads in magazines and how that translated into websites. And every day when I would get home from school, the first thing I would do would be to get on the internet and check like the BMX forums and all of that stuff. And so I've just always been, I guess I've consumed so much media that it naturally was just something that kind of happened. And then the other side of it is that if you want to ride a motorcycle for a living, you better understand how to sell yourself and how to market yourself, especially when like I don't have a big following. I don't.
I mean, you have a good following though.
Yeah, I would say it's a loyal following, but
yeah,
I
which
mean,
is that's more important than anything.
Yeah.
Like, and I've said this multiple times too. Like, Trent Mercado taught me that there is a difference between followers and a following. That is, I think about that like weekly. Shout out to Trent.
Yeah,
like I think
Trent.
about that like somewhat regularly because I see people that have fucking all these followers. And I'm like, oh wow, I have like 1,000 people that really fuck with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like really do. Like so there's a difference there, you know?
And I was fortunate enough, I don't even know why, but I worked with an exhaust brand when I used to race flat track as well.
Okay, dude.
And
I fucking love
Yeah.
I fucking love me some flat track, dude.
Yeah,
That
love
like
flat track.
I feel like there was like a subsect of motorcycle people that are into flat track, and we used to go, my buddy Jake's brother-in-law and niece raced, and we used to go down to Bakersfield like it was every weekend, I want to say, for like a few months out of the year. Down there watching flat track, and it is fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, it is.
To be honest, I never knew about flat track when I was a kid. It was all like motocross, you know? And it wasn't really my thing, but when I was riding Harleys and the whole hooligan thing kind of blew up.
Yeah.
My friend Jake Pope was racing, and he was like, at the time I was living in Colorado, and I rode my bike from Colorado to California for Born Free. And there happened to be a race at Paris Raceway that weekend. And he told me, like, I didn't even know, but we were at the track, and I'm in like just jeans and Vans and a Hawaiian button-up shirt, you know? And he's like, "You're going to race my bike tonight." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're going to race my bike tonight." And I was like, I mean, okay, you know? And So my first race, I made the mains, and like I just had a blast.
It was the first time you'd ever done it.
Yeah, yeah.
Holy shit!
And it wasn't like it was not like a pro class or anything, you know. But it just was. It gave me that like same excitement about racing. Like I love that feeling of being on the gate with other guys. It doesn't make me nervous. It doesn't. I love that feeling so much. It's so exciting.
The cool thing about racing, especially when it's like a single race like that, it's all on you.
Yeah.
It's not basketball. It's not football.
Right.
Where it's like, I didn't get the ball or this didn't happen or so-and-so. When it's racing, it's like,
only you are to blame.
I have to blame myself if this doesn't go how I want it to. There's something about that, you know?
It's awesome, you know? And so from flat track, so then of course I like build my own bike, all this other stuff. And I had an exhaust brand that started helping me when I was like nobody.
Yeah.
And he gave me a discount code, and within like a couple of years, like I had sold a ton of exhausts, like $40,000 worth of exhausts. And I was like,
holy shit.
I was so mind blown by that because I didn't have a following or anything. And so that luckily kind of clicked into my head to like, you're worth something. Don't let anyone ever tell you that you're not. And it's just who you are as a person and stuff like that. And so yeah, I just really early on kind of was like, okay, I need to learn how to market myself. And I've had other people help me with that have been involved with like music artists and things like that, where they showed me like my first pitch deck, you know, I didn't have any idea what that was. And so I looked at that stuff, and they were like, they just put a lot of confidence in me, and they're like, you need to do this just because a lot of people would kill to do this stuff. And so from that day on, I had sponsors that were helping me out. I got to travel a lot, and it's been awesome. And then as I get older and as I get sober, I'm like, okay, I need to like look at what the next 10 years of my life looks like. And that's where I've fit into the whole marketing situation with Nowoski and a couple of other brands. And I'm just pumped to take my passion for motorcycles. Like I remember as a kid, my mom would ask me, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I wanted to own a bike shop. Like I don't know why. I wanted to own a bike shop or a bike company or something like that. And as I've gotten older, really that hasn't changed that much. I mean, I've had detours. I was a fabricator. I did a bunch of other stuff that I hated, but to end up where I'm at now, I'm honestly just like so happy because for the first time, I feel like every day I don't dread working.
Yeah.
And I may be stressed out because I'm like, I have so many things that I want to figure out every day.
But that's a good stress.
Yeah, it's a good stress. Yeah. And it's just such a cool feeling. And it's such a cool industry. And I just hope that I can work my butt off and that I can be a part of it forever is my whole goal, you know? And
you talk about Nowoski. I met Pete, right?
Yep.
I met him at Sturgis this year. Yep. And I forget what I was doing to my bike. I had to change something. And I changed the oil cooler in the parking lot at the Thunderdome. And then I came over to your guys' tent. I didn't know you. Like, I think we had met like one time. And Dustin was like, hey, this is my good buddy Taylor. You know what I mean? And you were out. It was like in front of his trailer in Sturgis. And then like the next day I saw you over there. And I was like, hey, man, can I borrow some tools? You guys were like, yeah, go for it, dude. Yeah. No worries. But super rad, dude. And they've got, I remember talking with him. Primarily what they do is suspension, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I know they do a lot of things, but that's like big project.
Main bread and butter is suspension.
Suspension, yeah. And I mean, it seems like quality stuff. Like after talking with him, I was like, oh shit, this dude's passionate about this. He cares. Yeah. You know? And so where are they based out of?
So Menominee, Wisconsin. Okay. It's like an hour from Minneapolis, Minnesota. So just right into
like right across the border into Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yeah, and Pete is awesome. Like he is so passionate about racing and stunt riding and all these different things because he knows that the more he learns about that kind of stuff and how we are abusive on products and all that stuff, it really just translates. That's the whole goal of racing. Like people may not understand that because there's some big companies that use it as a tax write-off or whatever you want to call it, but the real reason for racing is to develop products and to develop products that fit with the masses. So him having a King of Baggers team and sponsoring.
He's got a Moto America bike?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
He's not racing this year just because we're so focused on like
It's fucking
what we're doing.
expensive,
Oh,
dude.
man, it's
oh
ridiculous.
My God.
But he's always interested in helping people, and he's always interested in taking on challenges because he just wants to develop the best product ever. And it's been such an awesome thing for me to be a part of because so many people like are just so happy with the stuff they buy. And that's such an awesome feeling. I've worked for companies before where you get complaints about things and you just feel that like feeling of like, I don't know, shame. I'm not sure what it is, but with them, it's like I get constantly, every time I follow up with someone, they're so happy, and they're so happy that they're sending other people to us.
Yeah, because you don't want to be representing a company that's not fulfilling what people are hoping for when they open the box.
Right.
You know what I mean? I've not to interrupt, but like I've experienced that. There's been companies I bought things for that I was like, oh shit. And then there's been companies like HPI is a great example. When I got my HPI pipe, I was like, holy shit, dude. It was like,
that's that experience.
Dude, it was like, I'll never forget this. I opened the box, dude, and there's stickers I've still got. I've still got HPI stickers like by the
that you don't want to put on because you're like,
because I want to like keep them. I swear, dude, there was Frisbees in there. Frisbees. I have HPI Frisbees. Like that was cool. You know what I mean? And I'd wanted one of those pipes for years and years and years. I finally got one, and then it was exactly the fulfillment that I was looking for, you know? So sorry to interrupt, but that's
that's awesome. And that's how it should be. And I hear so many people tell me there's brands I've worked with that I no longer work with because that experience wasn't good for those people. And there's just a lot of brands like that in the industry. And it's hard because it comes in waves. Like the companies that are there for the long haul, they actually suffer because these other small brands, or not even small brands, sometimes they're big brands, but those brands can take from everybody that's doing the right thing so much, and it's hard. And these guys have to like sit there and just keep trying to do the right thing
while someone else is kind of devaluing what you're doing.
Yes. It's such a hard battle, and you can't. You also can't say anything about the other people because that's just not respectful or professional either.
Then you're an asshole.
Yeah,
like,
you straight up.
You can't do that. I mean, there's a few companies that I like super stand behind, like Santoro, Lapera, like, I mean, there's more. I probably should have named them because I'm going to forget. Bamco, like all these Elite Mototech, all these guys, like, they're really good quality shit.
Yeah.
I feel super confident, you know, telling people like, hey, if you buy a set of these levers, they're going to be perfect. This seat, it's going to be the nicest one. These crash bars, fantastic. Buy from Bamco, it'll ship this week. Like, you're going to have your shit fast, you know? I don't want to recommend something to somebody and then it doesn't go right because now I am a liar. Yeah. I am, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I completely understand where you're coming from with that.
Yeah. But it's an interesting market, you know, but it's and you know, it's a hard market to be in too, because like I've met people with supercars that are super professional or, you know, super successful people, and they have these super nice cars, and they don't even care about those cars like Harley owners care about their Harleys. Like, I bet most of the time those people don't even know who works on those cars or services those cars. But damn well you know it that almost 90% of Harley guys out there, they want to know who's working on their bike, how long they've been doing it for, what their experience level is.
They're like,
and they want to watch them do it.
They want to know. There's a reason that my bike is in fucking Granite Falls, Washington right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Perfect example.
Like, that's, sorry, and I feel like I'm interrupting you. We're pinging. Like, there's a reason that it's there. You know what I mean? One, because the dude's a good friend of mine. Two, I can call him at 9 p.m. and ask a question, and he's going to have an answer that far supersedes what my brain can comprehend. You know what I mean? So it's that. It's exactly what you're saying, though. Like, people want to know who's working on it, what they're doing to it, why they went this route, all these different things, you know? Yeah. That's the experience I'm getting right now. I've changed my mind. My bike went up there for a 124 and then turned into something else and then turned into something else. And then it's still changing. Like, as of last night, I got the final, like, I'm going to make this happen now. So, but that's kind of what I want. You know what I mean? For my needs, there's different things that are going to do different stuff. You know what I mean? Right now I want to go fast.
If I mean, I hope one day that I do have the money to do it, but like I am so obsessed with these bikes, you know, that I think that's why it's hard for me to even get on the like something like the Pan Am and, you know, like, cause my Dyna, for instance, it's gone through so many different phases and I'm like running out of things that I can change as like the chassis and stuff. But like, I still think there's more and I want to figure out more and all this other stuff. And it's like almost hard cause I get on the Pan America and I'm just like, this is so different. I can't even take any data from this.
Yeah, I can't process this right now.
I can't process this right now because my brain's like...
I felt bad because I noticed when you went home the other day from the ranch and you were on the interstate, it was in off-road mode the whole time. So that bike was tuned down. I was texting you. So it's funny. So we left this store and I was riding the bike back to Taylor's house. I'm going like 100 miles an hour and I was just cruising and I was one-handed and I was like, I'm going to pull my phone out and take a video that I'm just like one-handed going 100 miles an hour on this thing and it's just straight as an arrow. Yeah.
And so I'm taking a video and you text me and you're like, hey, I just sent you like a collab post or whatever on Instagram. So I'm like on Instagram accepting the collab post and don't ride and text. I do that way too much. I got to stop. But I just couldn't believe it. And it is such a fun bike, but that's what I love about motorcycles so much is like, I've been doing it for so long that I just, at this point, it's almost like an experiment. I just want all the bikes and I wanted, if I had the money, I would just be doing the most outlandish things like build me a full titanium frame because I want to see what it feels like. Or, you know, I don't know, just wild stuff.
I think all of these bikes have a cap. At some point, you're going to reach what you can do to that bike to make it better for what you want. That's when you get into something new. You know what I mean? Like that's when the transition happens. Like that's what happened. And I mean, that cap can be different things. It can be, I have bought all of the nicest shit, everything that could ever be imagined, or it could be responsibly financially. This is all I can do to this bike. Like a dyno would be a good example, right? Like I've done, whatever, cams, fucking bigger jugs, heads, whatever the fuck, right? And I put all this money into it and I'm going to get 115 horsepower out of it, right? Take that money and put it into an M8. You know what I mean? And now you're having a completely different experience, you know? And I feel like that's kind of I don't want to call it the growth, but how people change what they're riding. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I want Dustin to get a fucking Softail so bad. Like so bad.
Right,
dude.
Yeah.
But at least bought him that bike, he'll never get rid of it, which is super rad. Like, but...
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because it's like
a monoshock is superior. I'm sorry. Like I'm sorry, dude.
I don't know.
I mean,
see, this is how crazy I am. I'm like, I want to buy a Softail ST and I want to convert it to dual shocks.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. But I'm just so stuck in my ways and like, you know, there's this one guy, I can never remember his Instagram name, but I'm such a fan of him as a fabricator. He just always is doing wild things. Right now he's building so he has an early model Dyna frame and he's putting an M8 in it. Okay. And I'm so curious to see what that would be like because you're right. Like the M8 platform just makes power so much easier. I don't really know. I just love the feeling of like really shitty old twin cams. Like you can tell they're there and what everything's doing and you can hear what everything's doing. And M8s are just so smooth. And I'm like, something's wrong with this
something
thing.
Different here. That was like, dude, I went from the M8 to the Rev Max and I was like, I can't hear it.
Yeah.
Like, when am I supposed to shift? And I still fucking bounce off that limiter all the fucking time, dude. Because I'm just like, I want to go fast, you know? But there's definitely a different vibe. I rode my buddy Brad's twin cam bagger this summer, and I was like, oh, dude, there's something just good about this. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's something I like where, I mean, my bike's going to come back rowdy, but the M8s are smooth. Yeah, they really are. And they continue to get smoother, I will say. Like, I rode a 24 Road Glide recently, and I was like, they're easy. I swear, dude, they're easier to push around. Like, they're balanced better. Like, everything is... Like you walk around the showroom and you're just like, where my bike, it's not like that.
Well,
you know?
It's just like technology changes so much. Like if you can, I can't even well, it would be really cool to see what a factory looked like when twin cams were in production and compared to what a factory looks like when the M8 is in production. Like,
yeah, that's a good
that's
point.
the way my brain works, is like,
Yeah.
I wonder what's changed. I mean, so much has, like robotics, and they have so much more data on different things. And I think that the M8 is just going to continue to get better. But, and I don't know, like the new motors, all that stuff is like rocket science to me right now. I would say like we're still very much so, and that's the crazy part. Our industry is like, we're still producing parts and making twin cams better.
Yeah.
You know, and the
Yeah,
M8's
no,
been
it
around
is.
for a while.
Yeah, it is.
But
I was definitely one of those guys. Like I'll tell you right now, I don't like change.
yeah,
Like I
same.
don't like change. In 2017, like when the dyno went away, I was on a dyno.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
If it ain't fixed, don't broke it. Exactly.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
like, dude, I was so mad. I was so mad that they got rid of it. And then I rode an M8, and I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And then then you know it comes out 2017, 18 or whatever. By like 2020, people realize like you can make a lot more power out of these really easy. Like I had to do on my Dyna, I had to take my 96 to a 103, bump the compression up, do cams, do all this shit, right? To get it to 110 horsepower. I put a cam in my 107 M8 and it made 112.
Yeah.
Just a cam. You know what I mean? Like that's where the price comes in again.
Yeah.
You know, there's just, and now, I mean, it's going to change again. Now they've got these VVT motors.
Right.
Like
right.
it's gonna, and I don't know enough of this to talk about it, but from what I'm hearing with these VVTs, guys are tuning them and getting ridiculous numbers.
Yeah.
Like,
I've heard that too.
yeah, just, I don't want to say it because I don't want to.
That's what's in the Nightster, right?
No, the Nightster is the Rev Max. So the Nightster and the Pan America have the same motor.
Okay.
And then I believe there's a 975 Nightster, but they're geared differently.
I see.
So the ones in the Sportsters, Nightsters, whatever, have just like lower gearing. It's more low end, where that Pan Am's wide open up top.
Yeah, it was crazy. I just wanted to keep going.
Mhm.
I feel like I could do
It'll
like
do
world record passes in that thing.
It'll do 140
That's crazy.
off the floor. Like,
I'm not a go fast that I'm not. I don't know. I just feel like at certain speeds, there's just a point where my brain starts to think about what would happen to my body if it was sliding down the road. And like over 100 miles an hour, it seems like my brain is just like, if you go down, you're dying.
yeah.
And I don't know why that is. It's like a weird thing I need to get over, but
I think for me, I love riding. I'm never going to be a stunt guy. So it's like a thing that I can do that's hard that I'm good at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so much of my life was like, I had all the adrenaline I ever needed at work. You know what I mean? I got 2,500 hours in a fucking helicopter. I didn't need to come home and do anything else. Like I was good for the day. And now I'm not doing that anymore. Now I'm like, there's still this fucking thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I need to scratch this. And moving down here has changed it a lot for me. Like, living up in Fresno, it's all like, I lived in the Central Valley, right? It's fucking huge. I don't know if you've been there. Everything's on a grid. Everything's straight line. You got to ride an hour to get to a turn type shit. Like that. And that's kind of the truth. Like that's not that much of an exaggeration. There's no turns unless you're getting on an on-ramp. Like there was an on-ramp that I could take fast. And that was like my one turn that I could practice. You know what I mean? And then moving down here has been a totally different experience. And then hooking up with all the guys in Temecula, fucking Tony and Lenny and Ariel and Mikey and all these dudes. I fucking name people and I'll forget people. But getting with all these dudes and being like, okay, I wasn't slow before. And now 4 months ago, I was like, I'm fucking slow, dude. Like what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the natural progression. Like Lenny's a racer. Tony's getting into it now. All these dudes are getting into that. You know what I mean? So this is kind of the natural progression. And it's totally, I feel like I've fallen in love with motorcycles again.
Yeah.
I really do.
You have to have some kind of way to challenge yourself. Like there always has to be some sort of challenge. And I think like, you know, some guys are satisfied with building a bike and their challenge is like just to see if it'll stay together while they ride it across the state or whatever, or the country or whatever it is. But some guys want to ride as fast as they possibly can. For me, I'm the same way. Like I have to have that challenge, and the challenge really just depends on how much money I have. Like if I had more money, my challenges would be I'd be racing. I'd be doing, Bagger Racing League or whatever. Like I just love any kind of challenge when it comes to two wheels. I think it's so important that we have that in our lives, and because it teaches us so much more about just riding. It teaches us about like business and about like repetition. You have to try something so many times before you get it right, and I love that about it so much. Like you just can't. I don't think there's another sport. There probably is actually free throws, basketball, whatever. But like those things are so important because it just
field goal kicker.
Yeah, field goal. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was dumb.
No. But there's like very few where it's isolated to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and you just got to try it over and over again, and that's life.
Yeah.
Like you can use it in so many different aspects of your life, and that's what I love about it. Is it's taught me so much without me even knowing it. It's been fun to learn that.
Yeah, and I don't know, like how I'm riding on a given day can always change. It depends. Like on the interstate, people are doing like 110 down the 5. I'm like, I think you're dumb.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. 1, you're going to get a fucking ticket. 2, cars. Like I'll do above the speed limit a little bit on my way home on the bike every day, but that's not like, my buddy Stretch is getting a bunch of shit right now, and I don't want him to think I'm like talking about him. I'm not at all. That's your thing. That's rad. That's just not like where I don't find a challenge in that. So I want to go out to the hills and do this. You know what I mean? There's less people. I don't want to say it's safer, but that's what I find a challenge, But fucking motorcycles are fun, dude.
Motorcycles are awesome. Yeah.
So fun.
I mean, going into the hills is a challenge. Like that was my first experience. Is my dad would just like point out a hill and say, "Climb that hill."
Yeah,
and I wouldn't be able to make it, and I would just pick that bike up. It was like picking the bike up all day is all I was doing.
Yeah,
but it's so much fun, and like anytime you can be outside of the city is so awesome too.
Oh my god, dude! The first time I went to Dweezy's Ranch, I was like, oh,
yeah. What's up with that? We gotta check that out.
Oh, dude. You haven't been out there?
I got some projects in mind that I need some space for,
You haven't been out there yet?
What's that? What'd you say you need? Oh, well, I need some space for a couple of projects I'm trying to work out with Taylor right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I have 160 acres, so.
Perfect. I only need like
4.
an acre.
He needs like a hill.
No, I can't really. I don't want to talk about it until it's time to talk about it. But
We're going to come out to the ranch.
Yeah. It'll be cool.
I mean, you can come out whenever, dude.
This is going to be fucking rad. What were we talking about? We're just talking
know,
about how much we love motorcycles.
Yeah.
Right now, you're like traveling. You're like a gypsy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say that or not. Can I say that word? Okay. Yeah. You're like a traveling man.
Yeah.
Like what?
I don't know.
So Dustin's like, yeah, dude. Welcome, Matt's here. He's sleeping in his ambulance in the driveway. And I'm like, Matt's here? And I'm like, wait, Matt's in an ambulance? Like, what's... first off, I think it's fucking cool. Like, let me preface with that. Like, I think it's sick.
Yeah.
But...
I mean, so I ended a big relationship, and I was like, what am I doing with my life?
Like a girlfriend relationship?
Yeah, girlfriend relationship. And that's why I moved from Florida.
Okay.
And I was on a government auction site, and I found this ambulance for like so cheap. I just couldn't. I mean, it's like 2 months of rent. You know what I mean? And so I was like, well, I might as well, because to be honest, like the more I travel, the better it is for my work. Like, this whole industry is all just networking, and different opportunities come from traveling, and I've had so many opportunities to do even more things, like I think I've been invited to do, I don't know how many things with Ryan Cruzy, for instance, and I just have had to say no because it's just so expensive to make shit happen.
Right.
And like now I'm getting close to the point where I'm ready to like settle down and get a girl pregnant and have kids and all that stuff. But I just feel like I have a little bit more left in the tank. And while I'm doing that, I just want to have as much opportunity to spread the brand around Nowoski suspension and set up at bike nights and stuff all over and just talk to people about our products. And so it's kind of just, it all works hand
You're
in
the
hand.
only dude around, not to say it like that, but like out here, you're the Nowoski guy. Like,
Yeah, right.
You know what I
Right,
mean? Like,
right.
and it's fresh, it's new.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
Yeah.
shout out to GP.
Yeah. No,
Like, you get it.
And yeah, I think there's a lot of great brands out there. GP is one of them, and I just feel like as much as I can do my part to try to inform people, because I think there's two different types of guys that might want GP and might want Nowoski, and there's just different things. There's a product for everyone.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, for me, it just works super well to travel around, and I know people all over the place. And it's like, it almost comes to a point where like I've traveled so much with a lot of people and I've made really good connections with them, to the point where it's almost like you get this anxiety of like, oh, well, I haven't seen this person for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in that town, it's hard because you only have so much time. So it's really nice, like, dude, being able to spend, I've been at Dustin's house for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And he has like separation anxiety right now that I left. and I did too. And I was like, this doesn't feel right.
Like, do you want to come?
Leaving.
Do you want to come?
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know. There's not really another way to make those kinds of things happen.
Yeah.
And the most important part to me about motorcycles is the connections.
Right.
And so the more people I get to meet and spend time with, and it's like, ever since I got sober as well, I've become more particular with things. Like, if I am going to Sturgis with the crew of guys, I know that some of those guys want to go out and drink and that they're going to come home late and make a bunch of noise. Our crew's pretty good for the most part, but like, the more I can have my own space everywhere I go, and the more I can stay in my own routines, cook my same food.
Yeah,
because
you're also carnivore.
What.
Like, yeah.
All of that stuff is like super important to me, because if I get off of my routine, that's when I'm in the danger zone.
Yeah. No, I get that. I 100% get that. And so you've been here for 2 weeks.
I think so.
Ish.
I don't even
Something
know.
like that.
I
You've
don't
been here
even
for a
know.
little
Quite
while.
a while.
Yeah. Like, I knew you were coming out and you've been here, and I hope you stay. Had you spent a bunch of time like in Southern California prior to this? I'm sure you'd been out here.
Yeah, I mean, when I was racing flat track, I would leave my flat track bike at Jake Pope's house in Long Beach, and then I would just fly back and forth from Colorado in the wintertime when it was cold, so I could come racing with him. So I've spent some time, but I've never spent enough time to just like be able to wander around, and there's just so much here too.
Yeah, you went and slept at the beach a couple days, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, that's my whole goal, man, is just like, I just want to explore and check stuff out. And I don't really know where I want to end up. I still think I actually want to end up in Florida at one point in my life, but I don't know. There's a lot of cool places, and I'm like saving money doing things this way, and I get to experience new places, and it's rad. I don't know.
What if you, California can be kind of a monster. How to phrase this? Like, there's so many people here. There's so much going on. There's so many bikes.
Yeah.
Did you have like any preconceived notions about like this is going to be different than Colorado, for instance?
No, because I've been so lucky to like meet a lot of people from here. Like, I'm very fortunate.
You came out and knew folks.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I think I would be very nervous to just show up from out of state and be here and like try to meet people, because I am super socially awkward. But like, because I've spent time with Joey riding events and stuff, and
that's a great example.
Dustin introduces me to you, and it's like kind of like you're just in the circle, and then you're good. And and I've had that experience in a lot of different places. Like, I've had bikes borrowed to me in Oakland, I've like, the motorcycle community is crazy. So it is really overwhelming, I think, but because I just know so many people here, it's not too big of a deal.
No, that makes sense, because you do have a network here that exists.
Yeah.
It's been cool, like, seeing you come out and fitting like right in at Josie's and shit. Like, and then the other day I was like, hey, that's Rocky. She's like the head bartender. Like, if you're gonna be out here, know her. You know what I mean? Like, and then she's out there, you're doing wheelies and burnouts, fucking around with Dirty, and she's out there recording you guys. I'm like, yeah, you're fitting in. Like,
it forces me out of my shell, you know,
Yeah.
which is good too. Like I am 100% the type of person to go ride with Dirty at Josie's and have like everyone filming and stuff, and I'll
And
take
then
my
leave.
helmet off and I'm like down to like just be in the corner and not talk to anybody.
Yeah.
You know?
No, and you're not doing that. Like you're coming out, like you're
Yeah.
at, I don't want to say at the bar because you're sober, but you're like hanging out at the bar. Like everybody's,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It was cool to
good.
see this past weekend, like how many people showed up to his ride.
Oh,
We brought some folks
awesome.
down from Temecula. Like,
Yeah. There's like 100 bikes there.
oh, easy.
It was crazy.
Oh yeah. Like it's fucking rad, dude. Like that dude, fucking San Diego holds him down. Like,
Well, he's
big
just
time.
Dustin is such a solid person. Like he's
100%.
a huge part of like my recovery and all that stuff. And he's like, you can tell that a lot of people look up to him and trust him. And that's, I mean,
He's
couldn't ask for a better
incredibly
friend.
easy to be friends with because he's just a genuine dude.
Yeah.
You're not guessing. That's like my number one quality that I look for in people is like, I want to know what you're going to say. You know what I mean? Like if I'm thinking about telling you something that I put a lot of thought and effort to, and I tell you and you say something completely fucking out of left field, and I'm not saying like fucking, this isn't a yes man thing. It's just a like consistency thing. Like your opinions don't change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you kind of stand on what the fuck you believe in. He's that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
something I don't want to be guessing what my friends are going to do. I don't like change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
want that
yeah.
consistency out of folks, you know?
Yeah. He's a good role model too.
Yeah.
You know, for me especially,
Yeah.
like the kids, being around the kids,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like the madness of his house, and Elise
dude.
is like,
Hello, chaos.
Elise has a bakery running in the kitchen, and she
people
has
coming in.
people
Yeah.
coming and like
You
getting
weren't
baked
there.
goods. Like
You weren't there for her TikTok time.
no, I wasn't, but I've heard about it.
Oh, you'd be
Yeah.
like over there and like something would happen and everybody be gone. You'd be in the kitchen. You like pick your nose real quick and you like look up and there's like a camera on a tripod and you're like, oh, fuck, that's going to be on Elise's TikTok. Like, I
that's
can't.
funny.
But from what I've heard, that's subsided a little bit. Now she's in her sourdough phase.
Yeah.
Era. I shouldn't have
mean,
said
she's
phase.
baking everything. Like it's
she?
so hard to be there as like a carnivore person, and I'm like, I want to eat. I love carbs and bread and sugar and cookies and all this stuff, and she's just baking and baking and baking.
Yeah.
Dustin is like screen printing all this stuff for different
Everyone.
brands, everyone, and there's like, you know, Wyatt's running around naked in the ambulance and like, you know what I mean? Like there's just
Breaking
so much
his
going on.
arm,
breaking
like-
his arm. It's so that's actually like I was going to I wanted to come down originally because of your show.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that was a big part of like the why I came down here when I did is
Yeah.
I wanted to check your show out. And I was on the phone with Dustin when Wyatt broke his arm. And so like I was basically under the assumption I got off the phone with him.
Also, Wyatt's 2.
Yeah.
And Wyatt is Dustin's son, for those that don't know Dustin.
Yes. And so when I got off the phone with him, I was like, oh, I'm just going to cancel the plans. You know, like there's
Yeah.
no way I'm going to come down there. It's like in 3 days, you know,
Yeah,
Wyatt
and his
just
kid just broke his
arm.
fucking arm. Yeah.
And Dustin calls me like,
Like an hour later?
like an hour later. And I was like, so I'm not planning on coming down anymore. He's like, oh no, he's fine. He's eating candy and running around and
You're
like,
good, bro.
he
He got
doesn't
big
even-
cast on.
Yeah, he's not even afraid. Yeah.
He was over there
So-
wrestling with my son like 3 days later.
Yeah.
Like straight up getting after him. Like, all right, man, that's your kid. Like, that's 100%. There's nothing. We haven't had a broken bone yet. Shouldn't have said that.
No, I should
But
have said that.
there's nothing worse than like pediatric care, dude. Like,
What a
fuck,
traumatizing experience to see your kids go through things like that. I can't even imagine. I don't have kids. But
yeah, it's watching your kids get hurt. My son, the worst thing that happened with him was our old house was all tile floors, and he came running around the corner one day, and there was like a pillow cover, and he fucking slipped on it, and it was like a cartoon fall. Like his legs went up, and he landed flat on his forehead, dude. And like, I spent a lot of my life like falling out of helicopters and helping broken people, and I'm prepared for that kind of stuff. You know
you're
what I mean?
freaking out.
But like, I'll never forget, like this happens. I was at the gym. I was walking into the gym and Shannon FaceTimes me and she's like, Kai fell and it's really bad. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, and like, show me. Or she called me regular. And I was like, FaceTime me real quick. Let me see. Like, I'm sure it's not that serious. And she shows me, dude. And this dude had a fucking grapefruit on the front of his head. And I was like,
Gosh.
hey, I'm on my way. Like, No further questions. Just like, I'm coming, you know, like we're going to the hospital. And I mean, he was like 2 when that happened. You know, he was little. He never, like, I was kind of like checking on him. I didn't want him to fall asleep right away. And I was kind of asking him, like, I spy something blue, and just seeing what he would point at, like, make sure he hasn't, you know, lost some cognitive function here. But like, he was fine, you know, but that feeling, dude, like, I've seen a lot of broken adults and it sucks, but you can compartmentalize that and you can get through that.
Yeah.
But seeing a child hurt is a different thing. Like, this poor little baby didn't know, you know, Wyatt learned that jumping on the bed is dangerous, or jumping off the bed. You know what I mean? Like,
do you think you're going to get him into racing or like motocross or anything like that? Or?
Yes, he absolutely fucking loves his little Strider, and he's like pretty skilled at it, for lack of a better term. So I'm going to get him a STUNT here soon. He's really into sports right now, and I'm kind of just seeing where that goes.
Yeah.
Like, he loves baseball,
Sports
he
are
loves
cheaper,
soccer.
so.
Yeah. But he loves motorcycles. Like, absolutely loves them. So I need to get him a STUNT. I just haven't done it. But like, he'll be out there setting out cones in the driveway, like getting around on this thing, you know. One big thing, like, I want him to wrestle. I was gonna get him into jiu-jitsu just because I've kind of trained on and off for like 10 years, and I just want him. It's like important to be able to defend himself if he needs to, you know. And he's got a little sister, so like, there's some core things that I need him to know. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't want to. I kind of want to see where it all goes. You know what I mean? Like, we just signed him up for baseball again. He's super into soccer, so. I'm like, all right, man, well, maybe we'll do that too, you know? And then once his attention span is a little bit better, I'm thinking like 5 or 6. Yeah. I'm going to put him in a gym. Like, cool. Yeah, you're going to have to know how to do this, bro. Like,
I didn't know you did all that stuff. You're going to have to teach me the ways, man.
Oh, dude, I've had a part of it's just like moving around. I've lived all over the fucking country. I mean, I've lived in Florida, I've lived in Virginia, California, Michigan. Like, I've gone north, south, east, west pretty hard, and there's different people doing different things in different areas. You know what I mean? When I got out to Lemoore, I started boxing just because there was like a heavy Hispanic presence there, and like, they fuck with soccer and they fuck with boxing, and there was a boxing gym like down the street, and I was like, all right. And for like 2 years I did that, you know what I mean? And then I had another kid, and then that kind of fell off, but motorcycles picked up again. You know what I mean? Just different
phases of life, I guess.
It's 100% different phases, and just kind of like who you're around, you know?
I feel like I'm around you guys, and I'm gonna have a kid walking around with me soon.
You're just gonna impregnate somebody here right now.
Like, I can feel it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta be careful.
Don't
which
do
is
it.
good. Which is good. Like, I really like spending time around both you and Dustin, your guys' families and stuff. It's good for me, for sure.
Yeah, appreciate that. Because Dustin, we do like dinners. We need to make it down to their house again soon. They've been coming up to our house for the last few times, and we just need to mix it up. But I didn't know you like super well, so I was like, hey, they're coming up. Let me just call and be like, hey, dude, come too. Like, we're not expecting you. We're expecting you. You know what I mean? We're not expecting you. So come. And then it was funny because you guys pulled up, and Dustin had to go park across the street because I lost my fucking parking pass thing. And you're like, oh, you want to walk over there with him? I was like, there will be plenty of time inside. Just enjoy all of the outside time that you can get right now.
Yeah,
because there's 4 kids in there. 2 of them are angels and 2 of them are demons. Like,
it's funny.
Just enjoy the quiet while you can, because Elisa's not going to let any of us sit in the other room for peace and quiet time.
Right.
But that was a cool experience, though. Like, having everybody over there was fun. But how long are you out here for? Are you just in the wind?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have too much going on until the Donnie Smith show.
Where's that at?
That's in Minnesota. It's a really big show. I think that's like the weekend after Daytona.
Okay.
So I have that I have to be there for Nowoski stuff, and we'll have a booth there and a bunch of bikes on display. He's been doing that show for a long time, so I'm excited to do that. But I mean, I pretty much am open until that. I just have this project, obviously the ambulance thing, so just trying to get that all kind of ready for the whole.
And you're riding around with your Dyna in the back of the ambulance.
Yeah.
That's fucking sick.
I'm going to fabricate a whole bunch of stuff in there so that the bike won't be in the back. It'll have like a deck on the back. It'll sit on there. And
Do you have it like all
kind of
converted out with a bed and like?
I just made a quick bed. Like I haven't really done. I mean, dude, I literally I bought it on an auction for super cheap. Flew to go get it as I was kind of like moving my stuff back from Florida, and I haven't really done a whole lot. It's just bare bones, and I'm kind of just doing that to figure out how much I want to do to it. You know, it's not. It's really not my long term goal. I think I'll probably like use it for a year, and then I have a home base in Arizona too.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm kind of just cruising around. I'll probably be out here for a couple more weeks or something.
Yeah.
I think I'll be spending a ton of time in California this year, I would imagine.
Yeah. Have you been to like Central California?
Central California, what would be considered central? Like LA and stuff?
For the purpose of this, north of LA, south of San Jose.
No, probably not.
There's some cool places in there that you should check out. Like I lived there for a long time. Anywhere in
I want to go to Pismo. Is that where that is?
Pismo. Yep.
Yeah.
Pismo's definitely Central Coast. Like Pismo, Slow, Paso Robles. I mean, I lived in Lemoore, which is like north of Bakersfield. That whole area, dude, if you've never been there, is fucking it's pretty cool. Yeah. The Central Valley, I shouldn't say is cool. I loved it because I lived there and I just had a great experience. But the Central Coast is really fucking cool. Yeah. What are some of the, God, I'm going to draw a blank. Avila Beach. There's places that nobody's heard of that are amazing through there. And then have you ever done like Big Sur?
I haven't. No.
Oh, okay.
I've actually never even
Don't
been.
leave California without like spending 3 days in Monterey sleeping outside. Yeah. Like that, if money wasn't a factor, I would live in Monterey.
Yeah.
That is the one place, like without a doubt. I got a good buddy that lives up there. Miles lives up there on a preserve in Carmel. I'm so jealous. It's so nice up there, dude. Like for the summer in July, the Laguna Seca races, like one of the cooler, I don't know how to explain it because I don't want to say it's small. It's not. It's fucking huge. But it's like talked about less for some reason. You don't hear about it all the time. And it's, I think, one of the cooler experiences in motorcycles right now. You go to the races, they do the Moto America thing. They do it all, right? They do the King of the Baggers. They do all this stuff. And then afterwards, everybody goes down to Monterey. Like everybody goes down to Fisherman's Wharf. And just as far as you can see is a little mini Sturgis thing going on. Like bikes lining the street as far as you can see. All different kinds, all different ethnicities, different styles. Like the Underglow guys are there. The guys with the speakers are there. The performance guys are there. Sport bikes are there. You know what I mean? It's just a unique, and everybody's just like standing outside in Fisherman's Wharf. And it is, or Cannery Row is that little street right there, dude. And it is fucking unique. If you can be there in July, I would recommend it just for the experience. Like,
yeah, I want to experience as much of that stuff as possible just because the California bike culture is just so cool. And I have somehow, like, I've just been so, like, everything starts here. Like, I think all the trends really start here. I mean, just the other day at your show, I noticed a bike that had all, like, the engine cases, the fork lowers, I don't know if the frame was, but all these parts were all Cerakoted. And I was like, wow, that's the new thing.
Haven't seen that yet.
And that's like the new thing that's going to happen. And so all those kind of things, I think, start in California, no matter what it is. And so for me, I've like seen it all on the internet, but it's just you notice a lot more when you can be there in person, obviously. Yeah. So I just want to check stuff out as much as I can and understand like my industry as much as possible. Cause I do think that I mean, California, there's more bikes here than probably the whole country combined.
Yeah, there's just, and I talked about this with Jace. Because of the weather here, and because of how many people are located here, like statistically, there's just going to be more. Like I sold Shannon's car and I ride a Pan America every day because I can. Yeah. Like every day, even like our shitty weather here.
It's beautiful.
Dude, like when it rains, it's not like a real rain. You know what I mean? Like not to say it like that, but you can justify not having a vehicle here and having a motorcycle. Yep. You can. There's not that many places in the country where you can do that. You know, like you're not going to get snow. The coldest it's going to get is like 40 something. fucking layer up.
It makes sense why it's so expensive here. Like,
Yeah.
I've almost
If I was
going to
be homeless anywhere, it'd be here.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, here I am,
yeah. My bad, dude.
I mean, I've almost moved here so many times. Like, I was really close to moving here right before COVID, and then COVID hit, and I kind of took that as like a sign to like not make any crazy changes, you know?
Yeah.
But really, it was kind of one of those things where I've always wanted to be here. It's so hard to justify the money it takes to make it happen.
Jump up and make the move.
Yeah.
If you're already here, like I'm lucky, I'm paid to be here by the military. So it's going to be easier for me to transition because those numbers are just already in my head. I know what I have to do. You know what I mean? We're like kind of cold cocked moving out here and going from $2,000 a month in rent to $3,800 a month in rent.
Yeah.
Doubled up, dude. Like, what the fuck am I going to do where I'm making double as money? You know?
The pay is probably better though, right? Here.
It is, but it goes, I don't think it goes as far.
Yeah.
You know, just everything's expensive. Yeah. That was another thing I wanted to ask you. And you kind of touched on a little bit with the thing I know what bike you were talking about was Cerakoted, but do you see a different style in motorcycles out here than you do in Florida?
Yeah,
I have
absolutely.
like preconceived like kind of notions in my head of things that I think are different, but what have you seen?
I mean, yeah, I would say that there's a lot of differences. I mean, if you look at a bike here compared to there, I think everything will be different just based off of like, I mean, paint, for instance. Like painters from California have probably all, in one way or the other, influenced each other to paint somewhat similar to each other. And people in Florida are they've probably taken influence from, well, probably California, but also just who they're around and who they learn from, which is people from Florida. So I think bike builders are like Manic Cycles. They're a newer shop out of Palm Beach area.
Okay.
They are building some cool performance bikes, but like in my eyes, they're really the only guys that are getting the whole picture kind of. And I definitely would say that it's just slower. Like here, because of club culture and all the other things, like you guys have been building performance bikes here for how long? Like
Forever.
a long time.
Yeah.
Since
Just
FXRs.
before I was here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Since FXRs, really.
Yeah.
And so I think like just when it comes to guys that work in shops, like even older guys, they understand it. Where in other states, it's like just the younger guys get it, you know?
That's like the biggest thing that I feel like that stands out in my head, and I could be wrong. People are going to get mad at me. Every time I leave California, I see a bunch of turbos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the number one thing in my head. Like if I leave the state, I know I'm going to see turbos.
That's a good point.
I don't see them out here.
Yeah.
I know 2 people that have them.
Well, they're expensive.
Yeah, one, they're expensive.
Yeah.
As fuck. And
Maybe humidity?
I don't know if it's a riding style thing. Like I feel like turbos are going to be the 2 guys that I know that run them are fast as fuck. I'm not taking anything away from that.
Yeah.
And I mean fast. But I feel like the riding style out here, like being in canyons and being in turns, like pretty much anywhere in Southern California, you're a couple miles away from some good canyons, you know? And I don't know if the turbo is the move for some of that. And I say that with the 2 guys that I know being good at that, but that's the number one difference. I'm like, if I go to Arizona, if I go to Sturgis, if I go anywhere else, I'm going to see a couple turbos. And I don't think I see one a month out here.
Wow.
I think guys are doing naturally aspirated big shit here. And that's kind of it, you know?
I guess I should say too, now I'm thinking about it. If I left anyone out from Florida, I'm sorry. If you build performance bikes and I don't know you, and I was there for a short time, and Manic was the only shop that I really
that's the
got
one that
to
came
know.
to your mind,
Yeah, but like, I mean, yeah, Wisconsin, Pete does a ton of turbos. He has bikes shipped from the East Coast, shipped to him from all over the place to have turbos installed and tuned. He's been one of Trask's biggest dealers for a long time.
Yeah.
But that's interesting because Trask is just in Arizona, so you would think that would like, I mean, it's not a far place.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and I'm not by any means, I'm not like the fucking be all end all, but like I just don't see him. And I'm out riding every weekend.
You would know.
I would say,
like,
you know what I mean? Like, I know one dude in Texas that has as many turbo bikes as I know in California.
Yeah, wow.
Like straight up, you know, then that is, Dwayne has 2 bikes with turbos. Mike and Curtis, the only California guys I know with turbos.
I think they're going to take over the world.
Turbos?
I think they are. Like, there's just, I think, Trask, I got to spend some time with them for Sturgis. Like, our Airbnb, we booked it late for some reason, so we stayed in the same house as the Trask guys for like 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
I think just 2 days, but I really got to see how they operate as a team, and it was just so impressive to me that you can get that many people in one place, out of town, out of your shop, and have them all work like they do together. And how they operate was just amazing. So you can tell just from that alone. I mean, turbos are cool. They sound wicked cool.
For
like
sure. They look
everything
badass
about
on
them
the side
is
of a
cool.
motorcycle. It's like, whoa.
But the fact that it's Trask as well, like, I just think that what they're doing, you can tell in the facility that they just got moved into is massive. Like, they are going to grow, and it's going to be here. And maybe the more they grow and the more options they come up with, like, maybe they'll be smaller, cheaper turbo kits.
$6,500, I think, is what I'm seeing them for.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
A lot of dough.
But
all this stuff is.
But everything.
How much is a set of carbon wheels?
Bro, 5 Gs.
Right there.
I'm doing more than $6,500 right now on the bagger.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
could have been a turbo.
Yes, could have been a turbo.
And maybe, I think,
there's no better sound as well.
But I don't like change.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
I'm just kidding, but I think that there is
Yeah.
kind of like a group of guys that fight that a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's no doubt that, like, providing boost is going to increase horsepower. Like, ridiculously. I'm not trying to take away from that. But I think that there's like a change level that people aren't going to accept for a while.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've ridden with Dwayne. That bike's fucking fast. Mike is fast. All these dudes, maybe I'm not ready for it.
Well, the other part of it too is, like, as they grow, imagine that your friends have them and you don't. Because that's kind of, I think, how it might work, right? Like, one guy in the friend group gets the turbo, and then the other guys are like, "Man, that thing sure does sound cool." And then next thing you know, they're buying a kit,
You're right.
and then you're like, "Man, I'm the only guy that doesn't have a turbo on the bike." And then I don't know. I think it's gonna spread, and I think it's cool. I want a bike with one for sure.
Yeah, I would love to have one.
Yeah, but I want one of everything too.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know if I'm
Don't get me wrong.
best.
Like, I want a BMW GS too. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I want everything. Like,
yeah.
But,
So I don't know. It's cool to be out here and to see, just things, how the SoCal way of building bikes is and all that. I wish I could.
yeah, you've got a crash course
Yeah.
pretty quickly in like what people are doing out here.
Like, I got to check out Bulletproof Welder's bike. I know you are friends with him. I don't know him by name, but I got to check that thing out for the first time in person, and it was like, man, I think I have ADHD. And like, you can tell he's got something going on too, where he's like, that's his muse,
He's a perfectionist in that aspect, dude. Like,
so cool.
It's and
wicked.
it's cool too because some people don't like it, but he's redone that bike a bunch of times, and I think that is cool.
Yeah.
That every couple of years he gets a wild hair up his ass, and he's like, oh no, fucking down to the frame again, like and that's what he does, and he's perfected whatever he's doing to get that gold. Like, there's not a slight hint of anything that is the wrong color or mismatched or not identical. Everything is fucking perfect. That bike is perfect when it shows up anywhere.
When it comes to golds, especially, it drives me absolutely nuts when guys have like
Yellow.
10 different like shades of gold on their bike. And so when I saw it, and I was like, wow, it really is all the same shade of gold.
You gotta worry about that with Trev Dog. That motherfucker's gonna be gold.
It's gold.
Yeah,
I'm like, wow, all right, this guy's got it figured out.
Yep. And he put that ST fairing on there this year. Like, he mixed it up again. I don't know.
Also cool on the dyno of the ST fairing. I was like, at first I was like, I think the ST fairing in general, when I first saw it, when they just came out with that bike, I was like, ugly, hate it.
I don't like change.
Don't like change. Yeah. And now I'm like, wow, that ST fairing really is about the coolest thing I've seen for quite a while. But it looked good on his bike. It looked good.
They're growing on me. The first time I ever rode one, I rode Gentron's ST in Sturgis, and I was like, it's got like a Woods cam in it. Like, it's fucking done up, and it's fucking Taylor Schultz painted it. Like, it's a fucking on time.
Is that the
ST.
red one you were around? Yeah, I saw that thing. It was nice.
Yeah, it's fucking legit. I fucking hated it though.
Oh, really?
I was like, this thing sucks. Like, my knees are too high in the air. Like,
You're a big guy.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't like it. And then I've ridden him a couple times since, and then I took a loaner from here for a couple days. And by the end of that weekend, I was like, okay, I get it.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, you know what? This bike's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah,
I would ride one long distance even.
I don't know if I would, because I'm spoiled by a bagger Pan Am setup. True. So it'd be really hard, whether or not I want to admit it, that would be going backwards. Yeah. And that would be tough, you know?
What do you, like if you are, I'm trying to ask a good question. Like what?
Oh, reverse, hang on.
Well, okay, the way because like the way I explained how I felt about the Pan Am to you was like one of those girls that you really enjoy being with, and she's great in bed, but you don't want your friends to know about her, kind of a situation. so like, because that's just.
Are you gonna ask me like how do you get by life riding around on a Pan Am every day?
Well, no, like how what do you choose? Like, because it is an amazing bike, like. But your bagger's also a really cool bike. I mean, to me, I'm more of a fan of your bagger than I am the Pan Am, but I think I probably would enjoy riding the Pan Am more than I would the bagger.
The weird, and this will change, the bagger's been gone for a couple months, so this might change when I get it back, but when I get it back, it's going to be a brand new bike. We're taking this bike from 107 with a cam to, I'm not going to say what, just because I haven't said, but we're going to add a lot to this thing. It's going to be a whole new bike again, right? Before this, it was a really cool feeling, and I've wanted this for like my entire motorcycle life, to wake up and have an option. Like, what bike do I like? I had like 2 weeks of that, and it was the coolest fucking feeling in the world. What bike do I want to ride? I look forward to riding the Pan Am more, and I enjoy riding the bagger more. A lot of that had to do with the Pan Am was so new, and I was so much more comfortable on the bagger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the last time the bagger was in the garage, I looked forward to riding the Pan Am, but I enjoyed the bagger more. There's such a different feeling. Like that Pan Am is all high end, as you experience. Like it's all up there, right? So a good example of this was when I rode a Pan Am out to Colorado for Four Corners, right? And it was fucking cool, man. Like on the way back, I was going pretty good cooking home down the whatever interstate that is, 40 or I can't remember.
40, I think.
40, yeah. I mean, cooking for 5-6 hours, hauling ass. And then I started getting back into Southern California area, and there was a couple routes I could either stay on the 40 or whatever it was, the 215 to the 15 south, or I could get off a little bit early and jump through these like reservations and canyon roads into Temecula, and then take Temecula like the back way home. And after like 6 hours on this bike, I still felt great. Like that vibration's not there. It's not beating the shit out of me. I felt amazing. And I was like, I want to go take this on the canyons now. And I had the 3-gate boxes on the back, the whole 9, and I'm blasting these canyons. And I remember being like, oh my God, dude, this bike is fucking legit. I can do anything on this. Like you can tour on it. You can go a little bit off-road. You can rip canyons. It's
Jumps
fast.
well.
Like it does whatever you want it to do.
Yeah.
This is fucking amazing. Like, and then my next thought was like, this is a problem. And I rode my bagger the next day, and I was like, oh, this is like home, though. This is that low-end torque, everything. Like, this is effortless for me. You know what I mean? Like, I am comfortable here, and this is actually where I want to be. If you were like, hey, you have to ride a motorcycle to New York tomorrow, I'd take the Pan Am. But if you were like, you have to get rid of a bike tomorrow, I'd get rid of the Pan Am. Does that make sense?
Like,
I don't know.
Though.
The Pan Am's only cool because I have another option.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I almost feel like if the Pan Am was made by another company besides Harley, they would sell more of them. Because like I'm judging it based off
the fact that it's a Harley.
The fact that it's a Harley. So I'm like, well, it doesn't really sound like a Harley, and it doesn't, but it's not supposed to. It's like so much better of a bike than. Honestly, it's, I don't know. It is.
It's a different thing.
But it's just, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like because it's a Harley, I want it to be like
a Harley.
what a Harley is.
Yeah.
But that's insane. I don't know. And I felt that riding it the other night. Because I kind of have gotten away from long distance riding. Like I used to do it a lot more.
I've like fallen in love with it this past year.
Yeah, well, that bike will make you do that. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like. Go ahead.
Because it's easy. It's just easy to ride. And I noticed it the other night. Like, it was at night, you know, I was tired. We had been out in the dirt all day. I was kind of like, I was just riding it because you asked me to, really.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, I'm glad he asked me to because I'm really enjoying riding it. Right
Yeah.
now, which is kind of, I guess, a little bit rare these days. So
Yeah.
it was cool. It was refreshing.
It's a different thing, man. I don't know. It's like the ultimate utility vehicle for me. I can throw all those boxes on. I can still lane split. I can do whatever I need to do, you know, or I can take all the boxes off and go absolutely rip. And now it's a sport bike, you know, it just depends on kind of what I want it to be. And that's what it's capable of. But the bagger is home, safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Evolution, though, things will change, I think. Like, I did see that one. I'm sorry, I don't know his name, but I remember the bike from Born Free. It was like kind of like that shark blue or whatever they call that, the grayish blue, that color. It was a Pan Am all done, and it had like a
I don't
had like
know
a
his
thunder
name
header on it
either.
or something.
Yeah, that fucking thing. I don't know his name either. I saw it in Deadwood at Sturgis.
Yeah. I'm like, well,
That
it's kind of
is
closer to what I like, you know?
Yeah, and you know they came out with the Pan Am ST.
Oh,
It's got like
yeah,
17-inch
right.
wheels. It's just a street version of it. So, and then that kind of pissed me off because I just bought a Pan Am. But I'm like, okay, well, it can't go on the dirt. Like that's how I'm
Yeah,
justifying
but that bike,
it in
man,
my
you
head.
got to get it in the dirt. Like, I think once you get it in the dirt even more and you like do get comfortable with it in the hills, like there is literally no stopping you.
Yeah,
It's going to be so
100%.
sick.
It's gonna be so fun.
Yeah. The only thing is, though, is that I think with the Pan Am, you got to convince your buddies to have one too. And that's when you will like it the most, I
There's
think.
been a couple times that I've been taking it up like these grade, like off-road trails and shit, and I'm like, man, this would be really cool if somebody else was here.
Yeah.
You know,
Like if you're tipping your bike over and so are your buddies, it's a way funner
it's way
experience
more
than just
fun than
yourself.
just wrecking your bike. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. But I don't know. I went through a phase right before I got it where I was thinking about getting a lowrider because I wanted something that I could just get like to and from work with. And I was like a 3-month period where I was thinking about like, should I just buy a Dyna? Should I get a lowrider? And then I swore off the ST at Sturgis. And I was like, there should be something, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and then I rode the Pan Am and that was pretty much it. I was hooked after that.
I still think you just got to have one of everything.
Yeah.
You know,
so I'm going to
that's like
still
the
buy a
ultimate
lowrider.
goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, like-
I need a street glide too,
Yeah,
you know?
they're all just good in their own different ways, and they can't really be comparable, you know?
100%.
Like, I don't really, it would be so hard to, I just want to not ever get rid of bikes and just only add and just have a fleet and make them all look the same colors. I'm obsessed with that
Dude,
thought
you've
for
got
some
a
reason. But
sick fucking stunt bike. All right, I'm back from a potty break. We're back live.
we're back.
We're back. No, we were just saying this is the most motorcycling I've talked about in a long time, and I'm having a really good time with it.
It's awesome. Yeah.
People are like, I'm tired of hearing about Taylor's fucking bikes, but what I said was, you have a fucking sick stunt bike. Like the Blue Flame paint job
Yeah.
is fucking rad. How did that? Who painted your bike?
So his name's Brian. He has a company in Denver, Colorado called Killer Bee Custom Paint. And yeah, that whole thing kind of, I'm really crazy about colors. I have such a hard time picking colors for some reason, but we just kind of came up with that blue, and it's kind of become like my thing, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
I want to repaint the bike actually because I've dented the tank and a couple of things that needs to be fixed up. It's just, I mean,
You just dumped
it's a
it couple
workhorse,
times and
you
shit.
know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it's time for a new paint job, but it's just really hard to like justify going through all that work to have something painted again because I just want the same exact thing as I had last time, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that's cool, and it's kind of become, it's really wild to think about our bikes in the sense that like you may post something on Instagram or whatever and it doesn't really have a ton of views on it, but if you're posting it very often, like your bike has its own like persona, you know what I mean? Like your bike, your bike is it's an extension of yourself for sure. And I try to, like, mine's kind of wild looking, right? Like it has a blue frame and a blue swing arm
That's
and
fucking sick.
blue parts, and it's kind of loud. And sometimes I'm like, man, it's so loud and aggressive, but like at the same time, like that's just my brain and what we came up with. And I would never have a bike like that. I couldn't afford to have a bike like that if it wasn't for people like Pete Nowoski and Brian, who painted it, and all the other brands that have helped me out with that bike. But I don't know. I think the crazier the better anymore. And sometimes like within, taste, but it's just crazy. Like that bike, people don't know me. Like they don't know my face most of the time, because I just post videos of me riding it with my visor down, and I'm just another person when I'm off that bike. But it's really cool to see people like recognize the bike and take photos of the bike, and they don't have any idea who I am.
Yeah.
Like, cause I don't post like you and Dustin, you guys will post all these funny videos on your stories, like trolling each other and talking shit. I don't do that. Like I just,
for
it's
the
just
longest
not
time,
me.
your profile picture was not you.
Right. I just changed it the other day.
You just changed it like a couple days ago.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I've been wondering for like a year, like, is he going to change his fucking profile picture?
Well, I had my hair bleached for a long time, and we came up with this funny joke because I looked just like Ashley Schaefer, who is Will Ferrell in Eastbound and Down, which Eastbound and Down is like one of my favorite shows. It's super hilarious. And that I just had it as that because it was kind of funny, but I kind of was like, I probably should do something a little bit more professional at some point. But I don't know. I really kind of like that. Like Instagram's a weird thing, right? And especially like owning motorcycles and all this stuff, there's a lot of ego involved with it. And a lot of people are like posting things for attention, but really I just am posting stuff because I like creating content and it's fun for me and I get to be creative with it and all these different things, but I don't want anyone to really necessarily know who I am. It's just, but it's cool that the bike can have that.
Its own kind of persona.
Yeah, it's fun.
There was a long period of time where, like before Shifter, I was just going to bike shows and hanging out, and a lot of people knew me for my bike. In the last like year, that has changed. Like Born Free, now people know me for this, which is cool. But it's cool to get that recognition that your bike is cool enough that people recognize it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was at a gas station in Arizona like 3 years ago, and somebody was like, "Hey, your fucking Bender bike," and I was like, "Whoa!" Like I'm Taylor, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but it was a super rewarding feeling.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, oh man, I made a cool thing. People like it. Like,
It's even funnier that you say that too, because like no one really, my name's not anywhere on my Instagram. Like by design, like I've been arrested for riding. You
have
can
you really? What
the
fuck was that like?
It was gnarly for sure. I mean, helicopter chase and 5 cop cars, and it was crazy. But I had to hire a really good attorney. That's why I got out of flat track actually. Is I had to sell my flat track bike to get me out of all of that stuff. So basically, I met. My attorney was like, "Man, you can't be posting the stuff that you're posting and like keep your name attached to it. It just doesn't work that way. I mean, you could, but you're just kind of risking it, and it's just not worth getting in trouble for, right?" So I don't have my name on anywhere, but it's funny when I meet people, I introduce myself as my name because it sounds super weird to be like, "Hey, I'm Too Slick." Like no one's name is Too Slick, And like,
that's a bad one too.
Yeah, it's
that's
so
not
like imagine saying that out loud.
I'm not FXLRS.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm Too Slick.
Right. So, I've never done that. And because to me, I would laugh. Like if I said that to someone,
like, would you name yourself?
Yeah. Right. Right. And like Pete is from a different era, right? Like he's from the era of bikes where like you did have nicknames and like that was cool, and you were like, bike builders were, I don't know, it was just a different era. And so he calls me Slick, and he introduces me to people as Slick, and I introduce myself as Matt, and Nick, one of my best friends, calls me Big Tuna, and like that. Now people online are calling me Big Tuna in the comments and like whatever. But
then you get around me and us, we're like, "This is dumbass."
Yeah, right. yeah. And it's like, I don't know. It's just funny, but I don't know. It's such a random but cool thing to see people like appreciate your. Because like for me, my bike is like my brain. All in one bike, as cool as I could make it.
It's a representation of you and what you like.
I love when people are interested in it and stuff, because there's so many random weird things about it that's not just a stock bike. Everything's been touched on it. But
yeah, and that was kind of one of the things I noticed. Like at the Thunderdome this year, I got to watch you with Cruzy and Senders and Trent and everybody out there, and I was like, damn, that's fucking tight. Like, that's fucking rad. And then your bike stayed at Dustin's for a couple days and at the Thunderdome, and I really got to look at it, and I was like, there's a lot going on here, like in a good way. Sometimes, like, I'll look at bikes. There's two ways that I can look at a bike and say there's a lot going on here, and sometimes it's not good. Sometimes people, I think, and I'm kind of judging them. Sometimes people just do too fucking much. You know what I mean? But your bike is done very tastefully, and it doesn't look like a bike that you should be thrashing on. And then you fucking thrash on it, which I think is cool.
That's the coolest part.
You know, that's the coolest part. Like, you beat the fuck out of this thing, and it's really dope.
Yeah.
Like when we were helping, who was it that was helping us load up your bike in the truck? Who was that? It was a young kid.
Probably Nick.
I think he does the media, younger cat.
Nick,
Yeah. And that's when I was like getting to talk to you about it a little bit. And I was like, dude, this thing, and we didn't know each other. I was like, dude, this thing's pretty sick. You're like, yeah, thanks, dude. Appreciate it later.
No way, really?
No, I don't think so. But like, you were busy, you know what I mean? Like, but that thing's fucking rad, man.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's really, I mean, the way that I am with bikes, like I just want to figure out more about them, you know? And that's why I love working with Pete so much, is because like, there's a lot of things on that bike that people maybe don't really think about, you know, like the dirt bike bars. Like a lot of guys in the performance world, they're like, oh, dirt bike bars are cool, but they don't understand why we do dirt bike bars. Like dirt bike bars are because you can ditch all the 1-inch controls that feel like you're holding on to a damn hot dog with a full bun and everything. Like, you know, and get rid of all that, and you're like have more grip strength. So when you're stunt riding or you're riding aggressively, you have more control by doing that.
That makes sense.
And but there's a lot that goes into doing that. You have to like, you know, figure out clutch stuff. You got to figure out what kind of throttle you're gonna set up, you're gonna run, which has always been an issue. You know, I have a sport bike master cylinder because I don't know. I just went to it's so funny. People are like, oh, what kind of front brake master cylinder do you run? Because so many guys will run like Brembos or really nice ones, you know? That one, I just went to a wrecking yard that did all like sport bike parts and sold them on eBay, you know? And I found that one, and it had an ASV foldable lever like a dirt bike, and it had blue little hardware on it. And I was like, I'll try it.
I want that.
It's blue.
Yeah, it's blue.
But like people are always like, oh, what kind of brake master cylinder is that? And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's blue and it has ASV foldable levers on it. And I thought it was cool.
I went with it. So I took it out of the junkyard.
Yeah,
Here
literally.
I am running
and
it.
Hasn't been rebuilt in years, you know? Like,
have you used those have you gone through those tires we got you yet?
No, I haven't. Well, almost one of them, but they last quite a while.
Did you patch that one up?
No.
Oh.
It just was fine.
All right, right on.
So
we won't talk about that.
I mean, yeah, but that bike is cool, and I feel like real hot rod shit is like not supposed to be perfect. Like I don't run.
That's a part of what makes it cool.
Yes. And like the back fender, like a lot of guys will run titanium on the back fender so that when you scrape the fender on the ground, it doesn't mess up the fender. And personally myself, I don't do that because I think the titanium is just like a big block of it doesn't match with body lines of a bike or anything like that. So mine's just bare metal, and when I scrape it, it just has destroyed the paint, and so now it's just like rusty from not having any paint on it, and it's just metal, but it's right next to like really bitchin' paint.
Yeah.
And like to me that's super cool because it's not supposed to be perfect. And like I have this joke mainly that came from my dad because he's always telling me this, but like it's a workhorse, not a show pony.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's true. It's funny when people tell me like, people be like, hey, your bagger's fucking clean. I'm like, don't look too hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with my brake lines in the front end, I couldn't get like the little plastic fittings that hold the connections in, like it wouldn't reach anymore because I raised the front end too high and I didn't feel like changing all the fucking lines. So it didn't fit. And it was just kind of like jammed in there and zip tied ghetto. Well, when I went to GP, Fuzzy showed me this little trick. Like you take a piece of tubing and cut it, and then that creates a standoff. And then you zip tie around that, and then you zip tie your brake line to that, if that makes sense. And that sounds really ghetto. Like I have a little fucking I don't know, half-inch piece of tubing standoff. You know how fucking cool it is to me that Fuzzy showed me how to do that?
Yeah,
I'm like, this
no,
is fucking sick, dude.
yes,
This is my bike.
yes,
Like,
yes.
I take pride in that.
Yes.
I'm sure Kevin's going to see it and call me and be
Yeah.
like, what is this? Order some new brake lines, you cheap bitch.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, but that's cool. You know?
I mean, that's a perfect example of what's really cool about bikes too, is like, there's so many different people involved in a bike.
Mm-hmm.
You have so many different brands that all make different things. And like the motorcycle industry is not huge.
No.
It's a small thing. So you get to know these people. And like, if you really sit and think about it, like imagine, you know, for instance, what's the clutch company you use? Elite. So imagine
so levers. I use Elite levers.
levers.
Yes.
So
Yep.
like imagine those are one part of your bike, those levers. But think about all the bullshit that the owner of that company had to go through on the day that he made those levers for your motorcycle.
Yep.
And like, then you can look at all the other parts on your bike and you'll really start to appreciate like
How much
man,
went into this?
There are some badass motherfuckers that
Yep.
work in this industry and they go through a lot and they have the skills to go into another industry and make more money. But the ones that are still here because they're passionate about it and like, I mean, I don't know. I just love thinking about things like that because it's you can't even imagine what people are going through because on the outside, it looks like some of these companies are doing really well, but man, they are hanging on by a thread. So don't buy fucking parts off of Amazon.
No, buy them from people.
Yes.
It's cool because, and I haven't really told this. I hung out with Nate once or twice from Elite. We knew each other a little bit, and I reached out to him because I really liked his shit, and I'd always heard great stuff about his stuff. So I reached out to him about sponsoring it, right? And he was like, yeah, man, I'd listen to your podcast. I'm down. Let's go. And then through the process of getting to know him and Liz and understanding like what they deal with and how much goes into this, it's given me such an appreciation for their parts. Like me and Dan bust his balls all the time about when the crash bars are going to come out for the lowriders and when like the levers are going to come out for the 24s. And he's just like,
when I get a chance.
he's like, when
Yeah.
they're fucking done.
Yeah.
Because when they're done, they're going to be perfect.
Yeah.
That's it, you know?
Right.
So I don't know. It's just cool. And I've specifically through them, I've learned a lot about like what goes into all this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just a cool thing to see. And they've got a great product from it. And it's also hilarious because Nate's just like nerding out in the back, you know, running his machines and figuring out what's going on. And he don't care about any of the other stuff, you know, but that's his passion and it shows in his product. Like when I hit them up about sponsoring, he was like, yeah, cool, man. We got to get some product on your bike first though. Like no matter, that's what's going to happen prior to. And then I ran it and I was like, I think I'm faster now. Like, I really do. Like with the shorty levers made a huge fucking difference. And I was like, dude, I don't know. It's been cool the longer I'm around to see and get kind of gain an appreciation for how much effort people are putting into this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's not just like for us, it's fun and we're passionate about it. And it's easy to miss the big picture. And sometimes you kind of forget about like all those little things, but man, it's not easy. It's just not easy.
We just got to get you off one finger now. See if I can get you taken care of.
I mean, I'm not with anyone. That's just
what you're running.
That's just what I've ran because it's just what I had and no particular reason. And because I don't like change, I've just never changed. You know, it's not broken.
I don't like change.
It's like I've never even tried Elite or anyone else. It's just like the one finger it's a clutch and it works.
Yeah.
You know,
why if it ain't fixed, don't broke it.
Yeah. But I'm always open to trying different stuff and especially whenever I can meet people. That's like, to me, that's the biggest thing. Like I'll run anything if the people are nice and you can tell that they're trying to improve on things and they're trying to grow and they're trying to push. Like I just love
that was a part of what made me so committed to Simpson helmets for a long time was Scott at Simpson, and he's not there anymore.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel the same connection.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
It's
that's
the
such a
people.
rad human being that I met one time, and he took the time to take 30 minutes to have a conversation with me. And I was like, all right, man, wherever that dude goes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that personal connection with these companies though
It's huge.
it's huge, man.
Yeah.
It's fucking
Yeah. I
huge.
mean, Pete Nowoski is like my freaking mentor, dude. Like,
Yeah.
and just with life in general, like,
Because he's sober as well, right?
yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, he's just been in the industry for 20 years and he's just had to deal with so much BS.
Yeah.
Like, not even motorcycle related, just life and everything else related. Like, our life is kind of crazy compared to a lot of other people, you know, like you have a wife and like girlfriends that I've had in the past or whatever. It's hard for them to understand why we do the things that we do. And guys that have been in the industry for that long, that go to all these shows all year and travel to all these events to promote their brand, like, if your whole family's not on board with what you're doing and they don't fully understand it, then you'll never survive with that, because like, it's just a lot. And some people are like, what do you mean you want to go stand in the sun for a week in Arizona to promote your brand? Like, what? It sounds horrible. And you're like, well, you have to do it. It's a part of it.
It definitely is. There's definitely a piece of that. I've recently gone away from that in the last like short amount of time. I think there was a period of time where I was so focused on grow, and I was going to do like everything that I possibly could get my hands on. And this year, in the last 3 months, like some of these, I'm so fucking thankful for all of this. Like the people have hit me up and asked me to come places, and I'm just like, I can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this year, that's kind of my goal, is to really get back. I think my days of fucking standing in a parking lot for a week trying to sell t-shirts are over.
Yeah.
I don't
This
think.
is so much better.
Oh, dude.
Like,
Like,
there's probably guys standing in parking lots right now listening to your podcast. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
dude. Like,
so it's,
there probably
trip
is a
to
bike
think
night
about.
somewhere that
Yeah.
people are doing that.
Yeah.
And I respect that and I appreciate it. It's just not for me anymore.
No.
Like, I've been fortunate enough to be around people that I've gotten to know and I've gotten to develop good relationships with, and I don't need to, 8 shows a year is enough for me.
Yeah.
Like, I can make, the majority of my nut is made online. Fucking, you can make money in your sleep.
The internet's
You know
a
what I mean?
wild place, man.
It's fucking great. And there's people that haven't figured that out. They want to do 80 shows a year or whatever. Like, I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I don't have the bandwidth to be all those places. So I'm dialing that back a little bit, and I'm doing like the first year that I was doing this and all the shit that I loved, that's what I'm doing this year. Like, Arizona Bike Week has changed. Huge for me. I'm not going to Scottsdale anymore. I'm only going to Metro Mayhem to support Ryan and Trent and those guys. I'm going to go out there on like Wednesday, Thursday. Dweezy's going to come out. We're going to fucking document the whole thing. We're going to burn the city down.
Yeah.
That's the game plan. Then we're going to throw a fucking badass bike show at what I think is going to be the coolest bike event that Saturday, and then we're going to go home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to get back into that a little bit and kind of get some of my online stuff sorted and just make that process a little bit more streamlined.
Yeah. Which you definitely, we were talking about it the other day. Like, you have so much good stuff going on. It's really cool to see. Like, it's just all in how you structure things and how you do things. And what I was going to say about your bike show, though, too, is like, what I really like about what you and Dustin do together is like, you guys do a fantastic job of bringing the community really together. Like, stunt shows, to me, I love them. I have so much fun putting a smile on other people's faces and like getting to do what I love to do in front of other people. And if they enjoy it, that's awesome. But I feel like what you guys do is also so much cooler than that, because you're interacting. It's so interactive, and like everyone that's there, like doing the bike games and everything, like, I don't know, you guys just have such a cool thing going on, and like, it's good for the community.
Yeah. I think a part of it is him and I gel so well together that there's no like, there's just no egos between the two of us. You know what I mean? Like, everything forever, and maybe people aren't aware of this, anything that is ever open to me is an automatic invitation to him.
Yeah.
He might not choose to take it, but he is automatically invited if you invite me to something, and vice versa. I won't speak for him, but pretty much same.
Yeah.
And him and I have such a good time around each other, being goofy and doing these things, that I think it just warms people up to it. You know what I mean? So like,
Gets them out of their shell.
yeah, exactly. Like, one of the coolest things that's happened to date since I started Shifter Crew was I'll never forget this. The day after Arizona Bike Week, and shout out to Scottsdale Harley, because they really, I'm not going there this year, but I have a fucking tremendous appreciation for like Emily over there, the event coordinator, everything that they ever did. Like, seriously, thank you, because that was the first bike show we ever put on. Well, after the second one this year, big success, like kind of a couple hours after when it's done and you get to sit down, it's like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we did it, you
Yeah.
know? Well, like I've said multiple times, Live Fast Rally has always been my favorite event. Literally like 2 hours after the bike show was wrapped up at Scottsdale Harley, Chad from Live Fast called me and he was like, do you want our bike show? And I was like, dude, this is where we started. This is literally where Shifter started. This is my favorite event. I would love to have your bike show. And he was like, okay, because the year prior we had sponsored the slow races. He's like, okay, we're thinking about giving the slow races to LFG. And I was like, fucking do it. Like, absolutely fucking whatever the fuck it takes,
That's a
whatever
trip.
my word is worth. Yes, do it. And I feel like that was the start of the party. Like from that moment on, because then at Live Fast, we did the bike show, he did the slow races. I still fucking ran out there, got on the mic, had a good fucking time, joked around, made fun of Dustin. You know what I mean? Like just, that was like the start of the party. It's still going. You know what I mean? And I mean, we got big plans for not in California this year. I'm not going to say too much because I don't know what's going to happen, but I think I put like something on my story the other day. I'm sure people didn't read too into it, but like we're trying to get out of the parking lot. That's the goal here, you know?
But you guys are doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, next weekend?
Yeah. Fucking
How cool is that?
next weekend, dude, we're going to be on a ranch. Like, and how,
Not just a ranch, but Blackmore.
dude, how sick was that?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, I should probably talk about that. Like, so these guys are like, hey, we're gonna go check out this place where we're doing this event. Do you want to come? And I'm like, yeah, I would love to come check it out. You know, and I'm just thinking it's like some
I'm like, here, ride the Pan Am.
private place. You know, and then they ask if I want to ride the Pan Am. So then I show up on the Pan Am and it's Blackmore Ranch, and Blackmore Ranch is like, it's a private facility, basically what any of us would build if we made enough money.
Yeah, if we could, yeah.
If we
like-
could build it, we would do it. And so, I mean, it's basically just, there's tons of history there, tons and tons of history there. And it's one of the most like infamous, I would say, tracks in California. It's such an epic place. And it just was a really cool moment for me because once again, like, and it's so important to do this, I think, but like I just sat back and I was like, dude, motorcycles are a fucking trip. Like the fact that I'm at Blackmore Ranch, a place that I've always wanted to be able to even just see, not even ride there, but just a place to be able to see. And I got to help you guys create a video for you guys to promote your event that you're doing there. I'm just like, you just never really know. And it's almost like, I don't know, just the universe is a cool ass place to be sometimes, you know?
It's just enjoyable, dude.
Yeah.
Like that was, you were like, how the fuck have you guys never heard about this? You
Yeah,
were
I
like
was
cussing Dustin and I out.
mind-blown.
Like,
I'm gonna put some respect on this place's name.
yeah. Dude, getting there and seeing how, well, professional might not be the word, but just how detailed and nice it was.
Yeah.
It was not what I was expecting. I was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
this is fucking rad.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jeff is like the nicest dude.
Yes.
Like, holy
So
shit.
cool.
I had no idea that the guy that I was talking to was like the guy that built it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, and then I go meet him, I'm like, holy shit, man.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, it was fucking rad, man. That was cool. That's going to be a whole different, if you had told me you're going to run an off-road themed motorcycle event with LFG this year,
Yeah.
I didn't have that one on the bingo card, dude.
That's why I've been telling you, don't set your ceiling so low.
Yeah.
Set that ceiling high because all you're doing is holding yourself back. Like I do the same thing. Like we just imagine what we think we can do, but really that's so far from what it can be. Like the limit, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
It's just what we think we can do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, you're right. I'm learning that this year. Like,
Yeah.
things are changing, you know? And this has been the first year, and I'm sure you've dealt with this a bunch, but we had like a pretty long conversation at my kitchen table about like none of this was ever really supposed to happen. This was all supposed to be a joke. And now I have a calendar booked out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, dude, I could tell you what I'm doing every month of the year, essentially. And there's one or two fillers, you know what I mean? And it is funny because Dustin and I have different opinions on certain things, like November, December. I won't do shit. I won't do shit, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna run a sale, but I'll do a t-shirt drop to make up the difference, dude. I don't want to do anything in November, December.
It all changes. It all changes. Like I can already tell, before you know it, this will be just a bigger part of your life to where you're gonna have to do as much as you can. It just all grows, and
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's cool, and I'm glad I got to be around you guys, and I'm glad I'm really excited to check that out. I'm excited that Nick is going to be able to fly in. And
is he going to come?
Yes,
we talked about that in the meeting yesterday. He's going to be able to come out. Where's he live?
He lives in Washington.
Where at?
I don't know, some small ass town.
It's not Granite Falls, is it? Shout out to Kevin.
Oh, imagine if it is, that'd be crazy. But no, he's excited, and I'm excited for. I'm really excited for you guys to get out of the parking lot, because that's so important. It's just, make sure you support it, though. If you guys are tired of, so many people complain about the same things, like, oh my gosh, like all these events are always the same. Well, now that you're doing something new, you better come support it.
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that kind of gives the motivation to continue doing it, and the ability to continue to do it. Because if you do something that fails, you're not going to do it twice. You know what I mean? But like, the West Coast Classic, the event that we threw last October, that will be an annual thing because of how much support we received for the first one. Like, that justifies the existence, Everything, it has to be in certain ways a business. You have to be able to do it again, So
Everything's got to make sense.
hopefully the Pan Am thing makes sense. We're going to find out in about a week.
Well, I wish I had a GoPro and I was mic'd up so I could just talk about what was going on in my head while I was riding around the track. Because I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world.
You're like, I got a bunch of dudes in circles just recording me.
Yeah, like the only thing that I could imagine it being better would be more Pan Ams on the track.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to have. Like, we had a big meeting about it yesterday. I mean, we're going to have multiple demo bikes. There'll be more guys out there on the track. Rob Day is coming down to teach his clinic, to teach guys that already have bikes like this, kind of how to do it, So it's, I don't know, it's just a different experience, It's just something that I've never been a part of anything like that.
Yeah.
And now, and the wild part about which is fucking bullshit, by the way, I'm going to pull this out. This was Dustin's idea. I did a lot of work. I'm going to say that. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes, But you guys just have to not think about who's doing more work than the other, because it comes and goes, in waves.
That's 100% a joke. That's by the way. Don't feel bad. He won't, but
No, he does.
he doesn't care.
No, he's not even gonna listen to this probably.
Yeah, he won't. Maybe it will be the first time he has. He probably listens to the ones he does with me. That's probably the ones he listens to. But
Oh, jeez, that's funny.
have you done podcasts prior to this past couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I've done. Let me think. I've done a handful of them. I did one with Ryan Cruzy a couple years ago.
Okay.
I've done another.
Whose was it that you did? Was it Ryan's podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't. It's kind of like something that he would put out on his. What's the back end of YouTube like for your like private members? Patreon. Yeah, he put it on his Patreon, I think. And then I've done one with the guys at Rebel Reaper in Arizona as well.
Shit, yeah.
I did that a couple years ago, 3 years ago or something. I've done Dustin's before this week.
You
I
did
did
like a phone-in one time,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that was like around this. How the hell did you guys meet?
So when I consume so much media about motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
Like when podcasts like really began to get popular, like quite a while ago with Joe Rogan and all that stuff, like really popping off, I obviously then found Jace's podcast.
Yeah.
And then I think because I was listening to Jace's podcast, I found Dustin's somehow. And then I listened to Dustin's because it had motorcycle people on it.
Right.
And then when I was like kind of starting to get my act together and starting to get sober, I
remembered that his podcast like had a lot of that in it. So I was like, oh, I'm going to listen to some stuff about sobriety and kind of just, I was trying to understand what I was thinking kind of a thing. And, well, I knew I needed to get sober, but I was looking to like hear more about it from other people's perspective, basically. And so, cause at that point I was just like telling people I wasn't drinking. I wasn't like in recovery, I guess.
Yeah.
And so then I started listening to his podcast, and it was just so helpful because I got to listen to a bunch of other people and their stories, and it made me understand that like my situation is not abnormal.
Yeah.
Like there's other people just like me, and I can listen to their stories, and it's helpful to me to understand. And then I basically just I messaged the LFG page, and I was just like, hey, like I have been listening to your podcast a bunch lately, and I just want to say thanks. Like, it's a great thing for people like me because I'm a motorcycle person, but also the recovery part of it is just so awesome for those two things to mix.
Right.
And
Because you're a community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a big problem in our community too, to be honest. You know, there's a lot of people that struggle with it. And so I was like, man, that's just so awesome. And just sent him a bunch of positive stuff. And then he kind of like would start chatting with me back and forth. And then like, he just, became like one of the most important people in my recovery. So, yeah.
I never knew. I remember him telling me, I went over there one day and he was like, yeah, dude, there's this dude in Florida. I'm fucking chop it up with him. I'm gonna do like a live podcast with him. I was like, tight.
Yeah.
And then in Sturgis, he was like, hey, this is a guy I was telling you about. And I was like, oh, hey, man. You know, like, good to meet you. Like, but it's just rad, man. It's a small world. It's come around. Like, you and I have become friends through that. You know what I mean? And then also through this podcast. Like, we just sat here and talked about bikes for 2 hours, which is...
That's awesome.
Fucking rad. We were talking about a second ago, but I feel like people come on and it's like friends with the motorcycle community. And I have like guys that I've served with will come on and we'll tell like bonkers fucking stories every once in a while. I don't do that often, but I haven't gotten to do one where we talked about bikes this much in a long time. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to call you later with fucking Pan Am talk. Just so you know, dude, like we're going to keep talking about bikes.
I've always wanted to start my own podcast actually, dude, because I just love bikes. I love learning so much about, that's the kind of stuff that fascinates me is like the people behind all the bikes and the people with the brands. You just learn so much stuff, and there's so many good, interesting stories that I feel like are so helpful for other people to hear.
Yep, 100%.
Like we're kind of just rambling on about how much we love motorcycles, and that's fine. But like, there's a lot of guys that will talk about. There's a lot of people out there that want to be a part of this industry, like younger people, and it just seems like such a scary leap to them because I've been in that place. Like I remember the first time I went to an event, it was a Cruzy Originals event at the Hideaway, I think, in Cave Creek. And it was a contest, and I remember meeting Ryan for the first time specifically, and I was like so nervous, like, oh my God, you know.
He's OG.
He's OG, and he's big and gnarly.
And he can fight.
And I'm a dork, you know, and I just remember that. But, you know, because I stepped out of my comfort zone and I got to know him, he's invited me to do so many things with him. He's been a huge part of, like, I'm in his intro on his YouTube channel. I've had so many people come up to me and be like, oh, hey, you know, I loved watching you and Cruzy's Game of Bike or Game of Stunt or whatever it was. And I've just, like, that's only one part of it, but I've gotten to meet so many other people just because I step out of my comfort zone. But I think it's like important for other people to be able to listen to people in the industry and talk about just how small it is. It's not this big thing. Anyone can be a part of it. Nope. You can walk into someone's shop tomorrow and offer to push a broom around and they'll let you.
Yeah.
You know, and some shops will make you start at the bottom and that's where you're going to go. And sometimes when you meet someone the first time, maybe they are rude to you because they don't know who the fuck you are, you know, but for the most part, everyone involved is super nice. You know, if you can catch anyone on a bad day and they can be rude, but, you know, I don't know. I think it's really cool that you guys do this and you get to show this to the world and let people
hear how small it is.
It's a small community, man.
Yeah.
Like it's, and that's a blessing and a curse, because like everybody I think is kind of like 1 degree of separation away,
Yeah.
and that's great when it's great.
Sucks when it sucks.
But yeah, if you're thinking about fucking somebody over,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't, you know. But it's just, I don't know, man. I'm just blessed to be a part of it. I'm just having a good time with it, you know. We're like 2 hours and 10 minutes in.
I'm good.
We're gonna call it a wrap.
And we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, dude.
I'm good.
thanks for coming, dude. I almost said thanks
Yeah,
for having me.
of
Thanks for
course.
coming on, bro. That was fucking sick.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Later, guys.
Later. Peace.